Going to call to order today's regular meeting of the Jackson City Council here in the city of Jackson. It's around 10:08. Apologize for getting started a little late. This will be our last meeting before we go into the 2024 year. Turn it up. Before we go into the 2024 year, uh, as as uh, as we get ready to start, it is good to have here my good friend from the historic Mount Ham Missionary Baptist Church, or orator, one of the best I've ever known, and here Pastor C.J. Rhodes to open us up in a word of prayer. And then immediately after the invocation, I will ask if Councilman Foote would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. At this time, Pastor C.J. Rhodes, will we all please stand?
Let us pray. Almighty God, to whom all hearts are open, all minds known, we come before you as empty pitchers before an overflowing fountain, asking, O God, that you would fill everyone gathered here with your peace and your power and your presence. We pray especially for these elected leaders of our city, every council person and their respective wards. I lift them up to you individually, their families, their hopes and aspirations, their doubts and their fears. And I pray that you would bless them individually in their respective lives. I ask also, Lord, that you would bless them with wisdom and understanding in their leadership in our city. We pray that your Spirit would superintend today's proceedings, that all would be done for your glory and the collective good of the city of Jackson. We pray for our mayor and his family and the administration, for every person who makes up not only those elected persons and appointed persons, but every custodial person, everyone who supports the security, anyone who is a part of City Hall. We pray your choicest blessings upon them, both now in this season and in the future. Because, God, we know that without you, we can do nothing. We lift this prayer to you, the only help we know. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Colleagues, before we get started, first of all, I want to take an opportunity, personal privilege. I want to acknowledge Secretary Espy for being here. If you all would, please give him a hand. Want to thank him for his hard work, and he's not one that have served this country, but he's came back and he's still working. And he's probably one of those young men that will probably never retire, and so I appreciate that. But wanted to also take a point of personal privilege to do two special openings. Want to open this meeting up in honor of Larry Donnell Turner, who is the father to a good friend of mine, Justin Turner, but then also the brother to Judge Tommy Green, who was laid to rest on last week. And then also a lot of our good friends, someone who is a Boomite that marched in the Boom, came several years after me, Brother Christopher Little, who will be extremely missed because he laid a foundation and set a standard. And, you know, as much as I talk about Forest Hill High School, I have to be honest, Jim Hill High School's marching band had a very unique sound of musicianship.
Awesome.
A very unique sound of musicianship, and you attribute that to his musicianship, how he was trained under Dow Taylor. But then the most amazing thing is the amount of young people that came through Jim Hill, that also came through the Boom, who are inspired to be band directors. One of our staff members Victor Allen, his son, is aspiring to be a band director because of the influence of Christopher Little. So I wanted to open the meeting up in honor of those two and make sure that our prayers are with the Sonic Boom Alumni Association, the Little family, Director of Bands Roger Little, and then also the Green and Turner family. At this time, I'll yield. Any colleagues have any special openings? Yes, Councilman Foote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to open the meeting in honor of a longtime friend of mine, Mr. John Price, longtime citizen of the city of Jackson, worked for over 50 years as an attorney here in the city of Jackson, and also served in World War II as a veteran in the Battle of the Bulge, and on this occasion of his 100th birthday, which happened last Thursday on December 14th.
Yes, sir. Any other special openings?
I have
Yes.
one, Mr. President.
Yes, sir. Councilman Griselle.
I'd like to also open this meeting in memory of Mr. James Franklin Miller, who is the father of Joe Miller and the father-in-law of Angela Snow Miller, who live in my ward. And I also would like to echo the sentiments of Councilman Banks in memory of Mr. Christopher Little and also Mr. Larry Turner. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Councilman Hartley.
Yes, I'd like to, again, offer the condolences of Ward 5 for the family of Mr. Dr. Little. Tremendous inspiration at Jim Hill High School, part of their success story, and just condolences and prayers goes out to the families. Thank you.
All right. Any more special openings? Words? All right, colleagues, we will proceed. First, we have public comments. We have not passed those ordinances yet, and they won't go into effect, so we still need to suspend the rules. Is that correct? Clerk of Council.
That's correct. Shanikia Jordan, Clerk of Council. We have two that are speaking on unrelated agenda items and two for agenda items.
All right, colleagues, it is not likely that we will have a citizens' agenda meeting before the end of this year. And so in order to hear these four public comment items of those that are present today, I would need a motion and second to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we suspend the rules to hear public comment. Let me just give some housekeeping rules, and I'll do it for public comments, but then I'll also do it for the duration of the meeting. For public comments, you have 3 minutes. I would acknowledge you when you approach the members of this body are recognized by me, and in that fashion, either through a head nod or through acknowledgement, I would acknowledge you. The same courtesy is extended to you, Mayor. We will not talk over each other. The only person that has the right to interrupt is me, and I would do that hopefully not with the gavel. If someone is speaking, whether they're on the dais or whether they're at the podium, only one person can be at the podium at a time. We will not have the interruption of someone who is, nor the disrespect of an individual who is trying to speak or clarify, and that person be interrupted or treated as such. With that being said, we will call first the first person, LaShonda Hobb, non-agenda item.
Council President, we need to vote on
Oh,
the
I'm sorry.
suspension of the rules.
All in favor of suspending the rules? Thank you. All right, item passes 5-0. The rules are now suspended to allow public comments. First is LaShonda Hobbs. Are you here? LaShonda Hobbs. Is she on virtually? LaShonda Hobbs going twice. LaShonda Hobbs going 3 times. If you are listening or if you're watching by recording, our next council meeting will be in the new year. Please make sure you reach out to the clerk's office so that you can address this body. Our next person is Dominic DeLeo on water rates. This is a non-agenda item.
Thank you. Before I begin, let me wish you all a safe and happy holidays and a happy new year. My name's Dominic DeLeo, and I'm here to comment. I realize you're not going to be voting on the water rates at this meeting, but I'd like to comment on that. Earlier this year, I attended a public engagement session hosted by the EPA and the DOJ to solicit public comment on the takeover of the sewer system. That is adding the sewer system to the interim third-party manager's responsibilities. I don't really think either of those federal agencies were interested in a meaningful dialogue with the citizens about the future and governance of the city's infrastructure, since the ground rules were that they weren't going to respond to the comments. Above the EPA and the DOJ representatives at the meeting I was at was a large screen. It had a slide on it and said, U.S. DOJ versus the City of Jackson. That really struck me. The City of Jackson, I said to them, was not some inanimate thing. It's not a corporate entity. It is a corporate entity, but it's really the people who live here who are being judged guilty as far as I'm concerned. I asked them, where was our voice in the decisions that were being made about the city's infrastructure? Who represented our interests, and why had they neutered and made powerless this body that I stand before today in terms of those decisions? As you might expect, they did not answer, so I ask all of you the same questions. How did we, the citizens of Jackson, lose our governing power and voice in these decisions? How did we lose the right to participate through our elected officials, you, in decisions regarding water and sewer infrastructure, the right we've had since those systems were established? I've searched the city council minutes for the vote that handed over the water system to the interim third-party manager without success. If any one of you, I left my information here, wants to tell me where I can find that, I would love to read it. And I'd like to know who voted for it, who voted against it. Perhaps you all voted for it. I would like to hear from all of you your reasons behind your vote. I'm really troubled that, and I have gone to most of the meetings that Mr. Hennepin had publicly. I usually watch these meetings. I've read everything that the EPA has done. As far as I'm concerned, there wasn't really public discussion of accepting the stipulated order, consenting to that. I also wonder whether federal funding was contingent upon you making that decision. So we're now a year past that crisis, and as someone who, as I just said, follows these issues closely, I'm sorry, 30 seconds, I still do not understand how those decisions were made. Finally, I want to say I have no ill will towards the interim third-party manager, Mr. Hennepin. I'm very thankful, I think most of us are who live in this city, that he, along with many others, came here and have stabilized the water system. But I do have to say that I do feel like from the time he first came here, his openness to the public and his solutions to the crisis changed. He became inevitably a political actor, subject to the same challenges that all of you face every day and will face. I don't fault him for that. He was put in that position by all of you and by Judge Wingate.
Mr. DeLeo, your time is up. Do we not have the red card?
I thank
Somebody
you.
stole it? Okay.
Mr. Banks?
I thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Councilman Foote.
Mr. DeLeo, if you could leave your contact information. You asked if somebody could reach out to talk about the negotiation that took place last year. I'd be glad to give you a call, but I just need a phone number to call you at.
If colleagues, that information is with the clerk. I do have it. All right. Yes, Councilman Hartley.
I was going to ask you to please share it
I will.
with other members of the council, and thank the gentleman for coming forward. This is an important issue. Water quality is important, but also the way we govern is also important. And the more people that are educated and understand those processes, the better off we'll be. Thank you so much for coming forward, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we have, and let me correct the record. Item number, the discussion that we just had was on agenda item 10, and we will be taking that up today. Jan Hillegas, did I say that correctly? Item number 33. Let me ask this question. Yes, sir. Secretary Espy, you're also here for item 33?
Yes.
Okay, so since he's here, and before we get that item on the floor, I'll take personal privilege and allow Secretary Espy to address us on item 33 after these two. All right? Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Jan Hillegas from Ward 5. First, I want to speak briefly on an item that is up for discussion, and I want to urge you to keep one bill for water, sewer, and sanitation in order to save money from a separate system and a separate set of postage. And I want to urge you, if someone gets a month behind on that bill, that there be some system of a home visit from a social worker, perhaps someone from one of the agencies that provides help for people who get behind in their bills. In other words, there should not be water cut off at all anyway. Let's have our city provide help and not punishment for being poor. Item 33 is about a proposed resolution for transferring the Eudora Welty Library from the city of Jackson to the state of Mississippi for a park. I had a chance to review the proposed resolution just before the beginning of this meeting, and I don't see a date on that resolution, and I trust that one will not be put into it as to when that transfer should take place. I'm a frequent patron, was a frequent patron of the Eudora Welty Library, primarily for the computers, but also sometimes for the reference books and other things. The reason for closing it was stated not for the other issues which do exist, but because of the heat. And the staff could not be expected to work in heat of the summer. And the city would not fix that problem. But it's not cold now. And we're still locked out of those computers and the reference books and the Mississippi collection and the magazines and the microfilms and various other books that may not be at other libraries. So I'm asking you to please do what you can as council members and the city, the administration, to give us at least 3 or 4 months of a downtown library while the library board and administration are making arrangements for a new site with parking and lighting and all the things that go with the library. Please get it back open right away while it's cold and could be used, and delay the transfer to the state until the library itself, the contents, can be moved to a new location and opened. We need a downtown library more than we need grass and flowers right away. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Mayor?
Yes, Ms. Hillegas, I just want to thank you, one, for not only your comments, but your use of our facilities. There is some time sensitivity to all of the arrangements and making sure that the payments can be done. Unfortunately, the Eudora Welty Library has fallen in such disrepair. And after several efforts to try to fix it, even predating this administration, it just became, it became unwise. And so we've been trying to look for a downtown location. We are simultaneously working with the Library Commission for a downtown location. I don't want to state what those are because we've gone through a few options. One, well, I can say what one was and why it didn't work out. We looked at the Art Center as a temporary location, but as you now can tell with the construction going on at the planetarium, it makes it difficult for that location to be selected. But we are working closely with the Library Commission in order to ensure not only a temporary solution, but a long-term downtown location. We would not conceive of not having a downtown library for our people. I will continue to state, because I'm saying this not only for your benefit, but for the benefit of the First Baptist family. We love the First Baptist, church, and happy to have that historical church in the city. But they currently own the historic library, which is right across the street from Eudora Welty's current location. We believe that that would be an amazing location for the long-term fit for our library. Not only would it be an amazing location, it would be a proper tribute to the history of that facility for the city. And so we want that, but we will continue to look at other options in the alternative if we're unable to get it. Okay.
Councilman Hartley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Hillegas, I appreciate your, again, your enthusiasm concerning our library system. And like the saying, no good deed goes unpunished. We would love for you to be on our board for the library. Yesterday, is that a hard no? Or yesterday, we had a conversation in this chamber about Ward 5 having a representative that hadn't been on since, I think, earlier in the year, like March. And so if you're available and you feel as though it's worth your while, please give your information to the mayor or his staff or Ms. Flaherty, if you're interested. We're always, okay. Well, thank you. Well, we're down to you, Ms. Hillegas. Okay, well. Thank you so much, and thank you both for looking out. This is not the first time you brought library issues to my desk, and we certainly appreciate it. And appreciate everything you're doing as far as leadership in our community. I know you both are busy, and you love the city dearly and your community. So thank you so much, Ms. Flaherty, Ms. Hillegas.
Yes, sir. Councilman Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, the library that we used to own across the street from Weldy, the city owned it and got tricked out of it. I think the best thing if we're going to move forward with the library is build a new one, somewhere that would be suitable for all the citizens throughout this city. It's not just Weldy that's in disrepair. They reopened Meg Evers. Summertime, there was no air. Wintertime, there's no heat. Others are closed. We got to pay close attention to the needy and not the greedy, because a lot of those inner city kids, they do not have computers at home. They go to the libraries and use the computers. Poor people who do not have computers, they depend solely on the library. So as we close Weldy, I hope we'll consider where those computers are going to go and make sure that we can spread the use of these computers throughout the city of Jackson. The reason they said we got rid of the old library when we went across the street to Weldy was the old library was in disrepair, as they said about Weldy. That's why I said we need to invest in our citizens and build a new library that'll have long-term warranty, that won't be a disgrace after a few years to the citizens who try to use it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Stokes. Sheila O'Flaherty, am I saying that right? Flaherty, okay. And that's agenda items 21, 22, and 33.
My name is Sheila O'Flaherty. I'm a resident of Ward 5. I'm here to speak on items 21, 22, and 33. I applaud y'all for nominating 2 people to fill vacancies on the Jackson Hines Library Board, and that's items 21 and 22. I don't know the people involved, but I'm glad y'all have somebody finally. There are still 2 other vacancies. There have been 4 vacancies, some of them for years. Wards 2, 3, 5, and 6 have vacancies. Obviously, 2 of them are going to be filled today. The library needs attention. It needs the board members from the city to be on it so that they can help with the process. Fannie Lou Hamer Branch is a jewel, but it's closed for lunch. Medgar Evers Branch is just fantastic. There's kids there from the littlest children to, I was watching a senior program the other day for health education. It's just really great. Margaret Walker Alexander is fine, but it's not accessible very much on the buses. Regarding item number 33, when you close that building, or before you close that building, move the books and the computers to some place where we can use them. There's no place for people to use.
SB introduced us to his longtime friend, and I'll let you talk about him, who stepped up with a very generous donation for this project in memory of his late wife. The Mississippi Legislature has also provided funding, $2 million for this project, and the department is committed to seeking additional funding, public and private. We have been working on this project with the City of Jackson since the city's decision to close the Welty Library and the Library Commission's decision to move out of the Eudora Welty Library. We are really excited about the opportunity to do something positive in the area of the city where the department is. This will be a beautiful park designed by a national park designer that will include children's play area, not a playground, but a play area, a stage, beautiful landscaping, trees. Again, I want to thank Secretary Espy for securing a grant to help us with the landscaping of this park. Most importantly, it will open up the sight lines to the 2 Mississippi museums, so the property will be better connected with downtown Jackson. And most importantly, as the mayor and others have mentioned, it will open a direct sight line from the front door of the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum to the historic municipal library across the street, which was the site of the Tougaloo 9 protests. And I think there's some real poetry there. We're very excited about this project and very grateful for your consideration. I want to introduce Tommy Goodwin from our staff, who has worked very closely with Attorney Martin. Thank you very much, Attorney Martin, for all the time and energy you've put into this. And, Mr. Secretary, you want to say a word?
Just a word. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to the mayor, chief of staff, to every member of the city council and to the staff, and to the public. I'm just here to say thank you for what you, I hope, are about to do. I've been involved in this project from its inception. For me, it's a labor of love, because first of all, I love Jackson. I have a business on Old Canton Road in the city of Jackson. So what we're about to do, I hope, is to build another park in the city of Jackson, a green space, where the children can come to learn and play in a separate children's garden at the park, where the adults could come and have family reunions, where the city of Jackson could have multiple public events in the pavilion. But the most important thing I think about this location, it's across the street from a world-renowned civil rights museum. And so when the people who frequent from all over the world, the Civil Rights Museum, and with its impactful exhibits, all they have to do is go across the street and sit down in a green space that's peaceful, and they can think about what they've just seen in the history of Mississippi and how certain sectors were treated. So it's in a prime location. The folks can leave the park, have an unobstructed view to downtown Jackson. So thank you. There are three things that perhaps you don't know, and maybe the public would like to know. I've been a personal friend of a private donor to this project for more than 40 years. His wife died of cancer 2 years ago. I gave a eulogy at her funeral, and he wanted to do something in part to memorialize his wife. And I'm on the board of the Civil Rights Museum, and we decided this would be an opportunity for him to dedicate something toward her memory. So he did two things. He wrote a check for $1 million on the spot to get
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, from 5 to 12, out of 365 days a year, don't you think that the city deserves more days than just?
If I
I'm going to
Well-
defer to the mayor.
Yeah, so essentially, the initial 5 was in reference to prior agreements that we have with things like the convention center, so on and so forth. And so we wanted to expand it. We basically looked at a 12-month calendar and the feasibility of having at least one event per month. Understanding that in months like January and February, our desire may not be as sound because it's cold outside and most people don't want to be out there. We did it on a monthly basis. This agreement also says that the city will not be unreasonably denied the use of the facility. First of all, this is a wonderful agreement for all of the reasons that Secretary Espy enumerated. But on top of it, what this essentially allows us to accomplish is that we're demolishing what is a costly challenge for the city right now. We're creating a higher use or another use for it, and we're going to sustain another library at some point in time, hopefully very soon. But in giving it to the state, we're able to use this without having to maintain the cost of maintaining it. And so our benefit in a park is its use. The often challenge that we have is the cost of maintaining these things, and so we're able to shift off of our cost of maintaining while at the same time maintain a use for it.
And the only thing I will add is it entitles us to 12, but nothing bars us from asking for more than 12 uses.
Well, the concern I have, Mr. President,
Yes, sir, go ahead.
is 12 days is really a short period of time out of 365 days a year, and leave you even more. But the problem we ran into with the library was an effort to discriminate against the homeless. And I want to make sure, as it was a city library, it was a great effort to make sure there was no discrimination. Now to moving in the hands of the state, we do not want to practice discrimination when homeless people try to use the library. They're barred from the park. They're barred from using it solely because they're homeless. So if they telling the city that you can only use it 12 days, then what are they going to tell homeless people who want to sit in the park but might not look as good as some others? I have some reservations about this item, but I listened to Attorney Espy. He said some positive things, and one thing that made me move away from voting no to maybe abstaining or voting for it is that the gentleman's wife passed. He's trying to do something to honor his wife, and that touched my heart. I'm trying to do a museum in Georgetown for my wife. So I'm concerned about the issue of discrimination, especially when we go into the state level. I think the city should not just give up property, especially when you're not being compensated. And then to have no ownership or no say-so, and to limit the days that the city can utilize this park, I think it's wrong. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Stokes. Any other questions or comments?
We're voting on the amendment, right?
I think we already did. No, we have not. All in favor of the amendment? Opposed? All right, the amendment passes 6-1. Now we have the item on the floor as amended. Any further discussion on this item, colleagues?
One, Mr. President.
Say it one more time.
Yes, I have a discussion.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Councilman Stokes.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
over the years, I've had a chance to talk to former Mayor Kane Ditto, who first told me about the plan for the old Weldy Library and the park to help the appearance around the museums. And I applaud the effort. You know, people come from all over the state and all over the United States to these museums. And to see something that's more appealing.
Yes, sir.
Is something that would make the city and the state a little more proud. I think the right spokesman I heard today was Congressman, Agriculture Secretary. In terms of trying to remember and honor his wife, as I think most men should do. He made a situation that I believe should have been given a little more dedication to this city in terms of ownership and other issues. That was not done, and I keep hearing we're going across the street. Hell, we owned that across the street, and we let it go because it was in bad, bad shape. And now to say we're going back, seems like we're making some bad decisions. That's why I support building a new library in downtown Jackson that will make everyone feel proud, that won't need as many days of repairs and everything else. That would be a positive jewel for this city. Libraries are good, and I can't see us continue to close libraries. And I still bring up the issue. If it's Jackson Hines Library, then why Hines County's not doing more to help the libraries inside the city of Jackson? How is it Clinton got a brand new library that in the summertime they have air, in the wintertime they have heat, but we closing libraries in Jackson because of disrepair. But we supposed to be a county city library system where the city of Jackson is being treated like a red-headed stepchild. I think that's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Stokes. Councilwoman Lindsay.
Mr. President, Mr. Hartley was next.
Okay.
No, I defer to you.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yes.
First of all, I would like to thank everyone who has been involved in this project. Mr. Stokes alluded to this, but it's been an idea that has been in the works for a very long time. But Secretary Espy, when you made it your personal mission and personal goal to make this real by finding the funding, it got real legs and real traction, and I want to thank you for that. You have devoted a tremendous amount of your time to this effort. Director Blunt, thank you. I know you've probably lost a little sleep over this, and it is going to be an amazing front door to the two museums, which is a huge, huge draw to the city of Jackson and to the state of Mississippi. And Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you for working with the state on this and getting it done. I do encourage us to try as soon as we can to work with the Library Commission to find a new home for Eudora Welty. As you know, that is a huge hole. I was always under the impression that the old library is now owned by the Baptist Convention, not the Baptist Church, which is a completely different entity. And it's a different level of negotiation, I think. So it may not be possible. And so we need to at least find a temporary location as soon as we can. But colleagues, I support this item with a great deal of passion as well. I think it will mean a lot to us as a city, and I am asking that you please consider supporting it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Lindsay. Councilman Hartley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I listened to the discussion here. Several things come to mind. First of all, hats off to the folks that have been working on this. I think the location by the museum would help complete a picture there that's receptive and it's, like it has been spoken earlier, and it provide a place of respite for the folks visiting the Civil Rights Museum, and that is one big thing. That's huge. A couple of the other items that came up, one was homelessness. Yes, homeless folks, may gather around, and they'll probably be discouraged from what I've seen from being in downtown. And then they're being pushed into other parks, like Ms. Neva Mae Pittman's Park, formerly Poindexter. And so we still have that as a side item. The other item we still have is we have deplorable conditions in a lot of our parks. And I would look to Secretary. I'm grateful as to his initiative and everything he's done to bring this about. But if there's any other friends out there that's willing to help us out in other areas, we have plenty of neighborhood parks that in fact needs work, and that would be a big benefit if we had some revenue or something coming in to help them as well. And finally, my last thing is to the administration. For some reason, we're getting these notices, or we're seeing these notices only at the city council meeting. If perhaps when the city is going to be giving away property, if you could give us a little bit of head start so we can kind of understand the process and understand what's at stake. Again, once we receive it during the council meeting, then it's we don't have a whole lot of time for discussion. So if there's any way we can get a week or so, just heads up that, hey, we're going to be giving away 50 acres to this group or that group, that would be really helpful. Again, thank you for the efforts put into providing this space, especially with it being next to the Civil Rights Museum. Thank you.
Yes, just some marks in conclusion on this item. First, I'll address the latter question first. We will certainly look at how we can give more advance notice. I mean, it's not necessarily a frequently crossed bridge that we're giving away a property and we have something of this nature taking place. But I'll take that recommendation to heart, and we'll look at how we engage. We are community oriented by our nature, so I will take that charge and look at how we'll do that in the future. Looking at this item, I do want to again thank all of the hard work that went into bringing this into fruition. We want to thank the generosity of the gentleman, Secretary Espy's friend, who was kind enough to do this, and the heartwarming rationale that he decided to do this. Ms. Blunt, I thank you again. We've been meeting over quite some time, and as was mentioned, former Mayor Kane Ditto has been involved in this as well. Since we're looking, I do want to assure the residents of Jackson that I've heard the cry of not only the two ladies who came before us today saying that they were interested in an immediate alternative, but a long-term solution. As I said, we have been working with the Library Commission, already scouting locations, trying to see what works. And we will look at a new location, not only considering the possibility, Councilman Stokes, of a new build, but also the prospect of unutilized or underutilized facilities that we have in the downtown. He did transfer that property. It did not happen under this administration, so I can't really speak to the merits of why it was transferred and what the thinking was at that time. We just want to be diplomatic in our request and speak to the new ownership now and let them know that we don't want to villainize them for their own interest in it. We just want to encourage them that there may be a use that we can all collectively as Jacksonians enjoy, not only in a library, but lifting up history and lifting up to our children an understanding of the history that took place. So once again, last thing I will say is that, Councilman Stokes, the principle that I lead my life in and that I try to govern in is one of self-determination. So I absolutely understand the premise of not transferring or giving things up that could potentially be used for you. But when you think about the ultimate objective that you would have with a property like this is to be used, is to make sure that the city has ultimate use of it, that our children, that the city, for whatever functions that the council or the administration may have, and so on and so forth, we're able to accomplish that. And so that's why we put that in this agreement. We made sure in the agreement that this has a reverter, in fact. It has a reverter that if it is not used for its intended purpose, it comes back to the city of Jackson. We are actually, we didn't mention this, we are actually maintaining a small slither of the property, and that is where our satellite, or our tower, I'm sorry, our tower is located. We don't have a satellite. Our tower is located, and we receive revenue as a city from those entities that we host on that tower. Ultimately, we would like to do a rebuild of the tower in another location that still meets the footprint of the service that it provides now. We were unable to identify that immediately, but we didn't want to sacrifice that revenue that the city enjoys. And so that will, be beautified around that area until an alternate location can be determined that the city still owns, and we're still able to get that revenue. So I think it's a win for us. I think we will secure another library, and it will be, in my opinion, named Eudora Welty, because that is a part of our legacy as a city. And we are looking to make sure that that is in the downtown footprint. Thank you.
All right, City Attorney.
The only other thing I will add that hasn't been discussed, and this was a separate agreement, it's not part of our agreement, but there is an agreement between the Library Commission and the Department of Archives and History whereby MDAH actually provided funding for the library to move all of the periodicals, everything that was inside of Eudora Welty that belonged to the Library Commission. They were able to move it out and also to store it, and they did provide funding for that.
Go ahead.
I just want to note this, that there is one remaining piece of equipment that we have to make sure is.
That's mentioned in here. There's a
Yeah.
printing press that remains inside the building that we have not been able to move out because of it is an elevator that is inoperable, and the cost of repairing the elevator is over $100,000.
So we didn't want to repair an elevator, then demolish the building. I'm sorry.
So part of our agreement is as they are conducting their demolition, we will work together to see if there's a way to get that printing press out of the building. And we will be paying for the cost of getting the printing press out, but it will be during the demolition of the building. We will be trying to get that printing press out because it belongs to the Publications Department.
Yes, sir. Councilman Stokes?
Mr. President, I want to thank Congressman Mike Espy for his leadership. I was going to vote no when I came in here this morning. But for those who are dealing with grief,
I want to hear you back there.
for those who are dealing with grief, Thanksgiving is hard. Christmas is harder. New Year going to be just as hard. I don't know the gentleman who made the donation, but I want to keep telling Mike to thank him because he did the right thing. Now, I can't support it. I can't vote for this because of homeless and others, but I won't vote against it because of Mike Espy and the Councilwoman Lindsay, who represents this area. But this is good in so many ways. It is positive in so many ways. It's going to be something that's going to take this city so far into the future when we're not here 20, 30, 40 years from now, when buses and children come to the museums. Children love parks to run around and play. So thank you again, Mike Espy. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Stokes. Any other comments or questions? All right, let me say this. Hopefully, as we have this revolving discussion around the future of some of our libraries that are closing or need to be relocated, normally what has happened is we wait until budget season to hear a presentation from the Library Commission and to have those discussions so that there will not be the thought that, you know, we are moving forward without community input. I think it will be wise, maybe planning our Economic Development Committee, if we invite all parties to kind of have those discussions over the period of time to get input and to allow for that. And then right there or something of that nature. So great job at that. Without any further ado, all in favor? Oppose? Abstain? All right, item passes 5-0, 2 abstentions. All right, thank you. All right.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir, Mr. Stokes.
Mr. President, may I request a privilege? This young lady left work. We have discussion, Ms. Shirley. She's here. She signed maybe the wrong book.
No, she, where is she? She signed up. Hold on. Who is Miss Shirley? What is she speaking in reference to? 'Cause I'm
Item number 41. She's on the agenda.
Item 41, Miss Shirley. Miss Shirley, is it about Miss Shirley?
Yeah, it's about a pothole or something she hit.
Let's do this, because I want to move this,
Yes, sir. Whatever.
yeah, but stick around, and when we find a close appropriate item, then, you know, I'll yield and allow you to speak, okay? All right, thank you for coming. All right, consent agenda.
All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second on this item. Any questions or comments on consent agenda? Yes.
Ms. Dodson, I just want to make a brief comment that there are 55 cases on this agenda for dilapidated properties, but none are in Ward 2. And I can assure you, we do have dilapidated properties that we feel are a menace to our community and need to be cleaned up as well. Do we have any future plans for Ward 2?
We'll let Ward 6 cash in.
Chloe Dodson, Director of Planning. Absolutely. So this is our, part of our target investment neighborhood, so we're taking each area. So you may see a little bit more in other wards, but you're sure to see, you know, things in your ward. And also, it's not necessarily a bad thing to not have a whole bunch.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Councilman Foote.
This is a consent agenda, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I questioned during the meeting in the work session yesterday. It was about where we stood. There's a lot of items here for demolition and all, where we stood on the contract, on our spending for demolitions and all, and how much we were expecting to come out of the general fund for this calendar year, or for not this fiscal year, if you had that.
Sure. Chloe Dodson, Director of Planning. So the City of Jackson's Community Improvement Division uses a variety of different resources in order to do demolitions, board ups. The cases that you see in front of you are all general fund. And so if you look at our contract demolitions, we have budgeted $237,500. To date, we've spent 62%. So we have a balance of $89,000. And then under grass and weeds, which we can move around for it to be demos or grass and weeds are board up, we have budgeted $100,000. And to date, we've only spent about $1,000. And so altogether, we have about $337,000, but that doesn't include our CDBG funds. So we also have CDBG funds that we use on different demolitions, mostly the higher costing demolitions. But that's our general fund.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Councilman Harley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Dotson, thank you for bringing some renewed energy to getting these properties torn down and cleaned up. You could probably spend, Councilman Lee, she could probably spend all her time in Ward 5 and still not have enough time. But thank you for doing that. My question is, how do you prioritize these demolitions? I know you have to take them to environmental court, and then what happens?
It's a very complex process. It really depends on ownership, but the prioritization, to answer your question, really revolves around some amenities that we prioritize. So if it's a burned-out building next to a school, or if it's on a commercial corridor, or if it is a detriment to overall health and safety, those are the ones that are prioritized. But then once it gets into the system, it can either go to admin court or into environmental court. We try to get voluntary compliance, which is actually grown by like 6,000%, because we are actually getting things that could be a harm to the population.
Good. And one other question. Any of this money, are you gaining any of this money from your rental program?
No.
I was just wondering if there was another source of funding
No.
for your houses.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Yes. Yes, sir, Mayor.
Yes, I want to join the sentiment of gratitude to Ms. Dotson. This is one of the many things that we challenged her to look into when we first brought her on. In her time at the helm, she has not only brought forth demolitions like the ones we're talking about. We've seen major eyesores across the city demolished within recent years, whether it's Casa Grande, which took some doing to get to that solution, or looking on Ellis Avenue, whether it was the city directly doing it or the pressure levied on private business owners. We've seen major eyesores going down, and so we appreciate the work of not only Chloe but her team, and we look forward to demolishing other eyesores across the city. I do want to say this. I certainly understand the position of council members to advocate for their ward. Councilwoman Lee, I think you bring this forward, and I think that's your responsibility. But sometimes when we look at things like blight, sometimes we can spread the resources, and historically this is what we've done. We've spread the resources across the city that we ultimately don't see an impact anywhere, right? So sometimes we collectively have to decide where we want to go so that we can, finally deal with this issue, eliminate that one, then go to the next one, eliminate that one, and do it systematically. And so obviously it's a conversation that as an administration we have to continue to have with you guys to ensure that you understand where we're going. But we don't intend to be discriminatory towards any ward. We just want to make sure that we're able to eliminate challenges within the city.
Well, thank you, Mayor. And I have seen major demolitions happening in my ward, and I also want to thank you, Chloe, for all of your work with that, especially my new Briarwood 1 building that is set to be demolished. So I do see work in my ward. I don't want to say that we don't, because we do. But I do also have to report to my constituents as to why they are not seeing houses being cleaned up. So, but I will explain. But thank you.
Did you have a response? Okay.
Mr.
Yes.
President, just mistaken there.
We did allocate $54,000 to professional services within the rental registration division, but we didn't allocate any additional funds for demolitions.
Oh, okay. And I'd like to talk with you about permitting, some permitting issues offline. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, colleagues. Any other questions or comments on consent agenda? Hearing none other, all in favor? Opposed? All right, item carries 6 with 1 no. Let's go to introduction of ordinances. Number 10 will stay, and we will have discussion on that. So if you would proceed with number 10.
Ordinance amending sections 122-24, 234, 235, 236, 242, 267, 268, 269, 270A, 271, and 272 of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Jackson, Mississippi.
I'm going to ask if the clerk of council will approach the podium, and then, number 10. This is, okay, all right. This is an introduction. No. This is an introduction as it is now. It is an introduction as an ordinance. And so if the intention of this body to consider, and I would strongly recommend that we do for adoption, I need a motion and a second to move it to adoption.
So, second?
All right, it's been moved and properly second that we suspend the rules to move this for adoption. Thank you, colleagues, for clarity. That we suspend the rules to move this over for adoption. All in favor of suspending the rules to move item 10? It's the water rate. It's Ted Hennifan's item. It's the water rate. All right. All in favor of suspending rules to move this over to adoption? All right. Item carries unanimously. Now this item is on the floor to be adopted today.
Ordinance amending sections 122-24, 235, 234, 235, 236, 242, 267, 268, 269, 270A, 271, and 272 of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Jackson, Mississippi.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second on this item. Colleagues, are there any questions or comments? Yes, sir. I'll start with you, Councilman Foote.
Thank you, Mr. President. What are we accomplishing with this adjustments to the ordinance?
All right. I will ask Mr. Hennepin, do you?
Yes, Mr. President and members of council. So I am Ted Hennepin, interim third-party manager of Jackson Water. And these ordinance changes are required to support the rate proposal that I presented to you all at the special council meeting last week. So that changes the water rate structure to a availability charge plus a consumption charge in line with the state law as it currently exists. So most residential customers will see a $40 a month availability charge and $6 a 100 cubic feet charge for the consumptive use of the water, meaning the average customer that uses 6 CCF, 600 cubic feet per month, would see their bill go from somewhere in the low $60 range to around $75 range, about a 15% increase.
So my understanding when we did the negotiation back last November with DOJ and EPA was that, the water rates were, we were outside the loop, and that y'all had control of the water rates. And so is this dealing with the fact that the state passed some new laws? Is that what this is we're trying to get to?
So Tori Martin, Office of the City Attorney. So what's in the stipulated order is a requirement that if Mr. Hennepin wants to make a change, so if the city council does not make a change to water rates within a 1-year period, then Mr. Hennepin has the opportunity to come and bring you a proposal for a change in the water rates. What the order says is he presents but it will not go into your ordinances. That would be the difference, essentially. But either way, he gets to move forward because we've gone more than 12 months without a change to our water rates. Your last change to water rates was December of 2021.
Councilman Griselle.
Mr. Henderson, if, briefly, and I think you've done a pretty good job explaining this with the Ward 5 Town Hall and just over the past couple of weeks, but I have some senior residents who are really adamant about, especially when compared to the public assistance group of people, they don't quite understand why senior citizens don't also get a special rate because they're on fixed income. So if you could briefly speak to that since you're here today, I would really appreciate it.
Yes, Councilman. So, defining who gets special rates is a challenge to stay within law when you define customer classifications. And so we have to determine customer classifications and treat everyone within the classification the same. That's how we ended up with the SNAP classification. They've already been identified by the state through the SNAP program as a unique group of individuals, and we were able to use that rationale to create that classification. I don't know that we can use age as a distinguishing feature to create a customer classification that's essentially discriminating within that customer classification. So I believe the challenge might be from a legal perspective. And I know I'll get smacked for this, but most folks that are on Social Security and we claim their fixed income actually get better cost of living increases than most working people who are working on an hourly rate. People that work for an hourly rate tend not to see many adjustments in their hourly rate, and definitely none built in for a cost of living. Everyone on Social Security gets significant cost of living increases that line up very much with cost of living. So I would argue that they aren't on fixed income, but we did try to make the rate as economical as possible. And across the country, the average is $97 for that rate, and we're going to be somewhere in the $75 range.
You have follow-up? All right, you want to yield to Councilwoman Lee first? All
Yeah, I
right.
can.
Mr. Hennepin, I do understand the importance of raising our water rates, and I understand that we need to pay into the enterprise to have a sustainable, functioning system that we can eventually turn back over to the city. I understand all of that, but I just can't in good conscience vote to raise rates for my people who have been not getting water at some times out of the tap and sometimes not clean water. So just that
Fully
extra
understand.
pressure imposed on them, I will not be voting for it. I just want to let you know my reason why.
Appreciate that.
Mayor?
Yes, so a few things. One, just in a larger sense, many of the infrastructure challenges that the city has seen and the inability to meet those challenges has been essentially on a basis of a lack, not so much a basis of a lack of political will as it has been a lack of resources. I think now when we look at our drinking water system, while we don't have every dollar, every dime that we need, we certainly have a sea change, if you will, in our ability to address those challenges through the historic funding that we were able to secure from the federal government, $600 million in the omnibus bill, another 200 federal direct appropriation dollars, approximately $800 million. What we're seeing is, with our wastewater, we still have significant challenges, and we don't have the funding. I think Mr. Hennepin can attest to that he sees that challenge that we've been undergoing for some time. Because of our inability to secure water revenue, we have been unable to make the repairs that often plague our residents, those residents that have sewage coming up in their yard, in their backyard, sometimes unfortunately in their homes. This is the reason, because we have not had the money. And so we've been anticipating as an administration, and not to get to a sore subject, but when we talk about the billing and talk about the services we provide and keeping costs low, because we've been anticipating that this had to come at some point in time. And so, as an administration, this comes on your agenda because it is required by the stipulated order that first is offering an abstention of sorts. We're neither objecting to nor endorsing. We're doing our job and putting it on the agenda for your consideration. Thank you.
Yes, sir, Councilman Stokes.
Thank you. Safe Drinking Water Act.
Yes, sir.
Can you speak to that, please?
Safe Drinking Water Act was passed in 1974, created certain parameters that all drinking water has to meet to be safe to drink. And that's been in place now for the 50 years that it's, almost 50 years, 49 years. And that's been the guiding regulatory, underlying regulatory act that was put in place that EPA administers to make sure that everyone in this country gets clean drinking water at the same standards. And so that is revised from time to time with, they review what they call unregulated contaminants, and they put advisories out, and they ask water utilities to meet certain other standards that aren't directly part of the Safe Drinking Water Act, but it has largely remained unchanged since 1974.
Can you get copies of it to all council members?
Certainly.
And to the clerk's office?
Yes, sir.
The fire plug at Cohee and Martin Luther King is still down. I saw a truck over there today, this morning when I was coming. I don't know if they preparing to make repairs to it or not, but we're concerned that if there might be a fire, I'm not saying it will be, that we'll be able to fight it.
Absolutely.
In terms of what we're seeing with some of the improvements with the water system, a lot of people appreciate what's going on. As Councilmember Lee stated, it's just hard to raise the rates right now. So many people in such a bad position. We understand what you have to do in terms of trying to put this system on some sound footing, not just for today, but for tomorrow and the future, that some of these suggestions must be done. But we still get people calling about bills that's erroneous. And I know I've talked to people in your office who said that the new machinery, they can identify whether it's a leak and it's not a leak. I think you have to keep going into these communities. I was telling you about Reverend Williams Church and the wires out. You said that's the old meter. A lot of people didn't know that.
Yes, sir.
You know, we still thinking it's metered with wires. You said, no, we don't have meters with wires no more. So as you tell the people, then they'll know that they'll be able to do more things. As Councilmember Lee, I support what you're doing, but I just can't support voting to raise the rates. Thank you.
Understand. Thank you, sir.
All right, Councilman Hartley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Hannaford, we had a very energetic crowd when we presented
Yes, we
the
did.
water rates. A lot of the folks were interested, and thank you for attending the town hall, by the way. A lot of folks were interested in the customer service and billing piece. And from their reactions, we really didn't make a lot of headway into the water rates, I think, in getting into their minds. So having said that, I think I will abstain today on voting. However, I appreciate the efforts you're doing, because a strong drinking water system is required for our city to be strong.
Yes, sir.
And I'm glad that that you were given the monies to make these changes possible. Again, we're going to be watching you. We're going to keep asking you about that customer service, about the billing.
And it'll get better every day.
And we're going to keep pounding that drum okay? Because our citizens deserve it. And when they're confused about that type stuff, we don't even have time to talk about the higher level discussions. What I would, again, monies were provided to you to make those changes, to make our water system strong, and that's what we appreciate you doing.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
All right, Councilwoman Lindsay.
Yes, thank you. Oh, gosh. And there is power in this voice, so thank you. I'm so sorry. Whoa. Thank you.
It's because the speakers were.
Okay, all right, thank you. So I just want to get one. You know, we have a voice in this today. And we appreciate having the voice. But when it's all said and done, according to the stipulated order, the council's vote is irrelevant because you, or Judge Wingate, rather, let me say it properly, Judge Wingate, can still implement these rates regardless how the city council votes.
That is correct.
All right, thank you, colleagues. I just want to join the sentiment in the heart of Madam Vice President, and that is, you know, I think that there is the understanding that we have to get to some place of sustainability because this enterprise with any municipality, as you know, Louis Wright from Entergy, we've been saying this for years, but it has to run like a business. And Entergy, Xfinity, Atmos, when they don't pay their bill, they get shut off. The problem has not just been that, but it has also been people not getting their bills. And we find ourselves in a strange position because of things that have happened way beyond this administration and things that have happened previously. And I think that the city for a long time has extended grace and efforts because it was the few carrying, where people were not getting bills, there were certain people that had to carry the whole city. And we need to find and have a sustainability so that hopefully when we get it back, we can operate this like a business. I also have to add this, you know, it's a very simple decision process because if it takes $50 to run something and all you're collecting is $25, then you fall short. And there's old scripture that says, shall you continue in sin or shall you continue to fall short, that grace may continue to abound? And the scripture declares, God forbid. In other words, in other words, we can't continue to say, let the $25 try to assume if it could take care of the $50 is due. At some point, we have to deal with this. I think the thing that is unfortunate, I think the sentiment I think that you're hearing is that a lot of our citizens, our constituency, and Mayor, you know as well as I know, because you've probably been to Ed Cole's house just as much as I, have gone without water, not just for periods of time, but throughout the whole year. And it's hard for some people to kind of calculate and say, through having a lack of service, now I have to do this. But we do appreciate, I want you to know as Council President, there is nothing antagonistic toward you and what you are trying to do. I just think that as long as we continue to communicate and work together on those goals and things that we could accomplish, minority participation, et cetera, we can achieve those goals, but at the end of the day, we do have to be sustainable. So I thank you. Do you have a comment?
Just one comment on
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Cole has water. And I got a thank you from him the day after Thanksgiving. For the first time in 5 years, he had friends and family at Thanksgiving because he had water.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, colleagues, all in favor? All opposed? Abstentions? All right, item 007 abstentions. Huh? Item failed with 7 abstentions. Thank you. All right. Okay, where we at now? Okay. I know. All right, item 11.
Can I say one last thing?
Yes, sir.
Regardless of what part of the country you're from, turn it up or turn it down. What I'm saying is it's cold in here. Can we turn the heat up? You just did? Okay, all right.
So, have they been notified over there?
Yes, we notify care maintenance.
I moved that care maintenance keep a thermostat computer right there at that desk so that we can switch it whenever we want to. All right, so item 11. As we go through these items, I'm going to ask, once we get them on the floor, if you would speak from the podium and to explain this. As you explain this, if anybody wants to be recognized, let's not be rude and step over each other. Let's make sure we get it all explained. All right, let's go with number 11. And these are all introductions, ladies and gentlemen.
Ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 2, Division 2 of the Jackson Code of Ordinances.
All right, Clerk of Council, if you would explain this.
Shanikia Jordan, Clerk of Council. Chapter 2, Article 2, Division 2. This ordinance changes the agenda deadline. Currently, the deadline is set for Wednesday at 3 p.m. We're proposing a new deadline for entering agenda items into the Novus agenda management system. Will be Tuesday preceding the regular meeting at 3 p.m. Additionally, the final approval deadline for items within the Novus agenda system will be Wednesday at noon. These changes, we're trying to aim to enhance efficiency and ensure adequate time for review and preparation.
All right, thank you. I want to thank you for your hard work on researching this and trying to help come up with a viable solution so that we can receive things in a timely manner. I think we all understand the importance of deadlines. I also want to thank the chair of the Rules Committee. Just want to make it clear, there was an item actually in committee that we did vote it out, and I think we were able to do that without amendment. And so I just want to thank the chair of the Rules Committee for doing so. No, you're still there. I would acknowledge the city attorney's time when it's time to speak. So this is an introduction. It will roll over for adoption unless there is a heart to suspend the rules to adopt this now. I think that we can roll over for adoption. This is going to go through a normal process. It was in the Rules Committee. It passed out of Rules Committee. After it came out of Rules Committee, it's now an item for adoption. So we have 2 weeks, roughly, or more, for any input or any other guidance on this. All right. Did you have anything you would like to say? Yes.
Tori Martin, Office of the City Attorney. What I will say about this item is we never received a copy of this ordinance until yesterday. So maybe the City Council had the benefit of a copy of this ordinance when it went to the Rules Committee. But yesterday morning, I sent an email to the council clerk and requested a copy of all of these ordinances, 11 through, I think it's 14. And I sent it yesterday morning, I think 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I said, please send me a copy of these ordinances. The response I got back was, I'm not going to be able to send them to you until after 12 o'clock, which from my experience with ordinances, if I have a document that's drafted, it doesn't take long to send that document to someone. But regardless, I did not have a copy of this ordinance when you went into your Rules Committee meeting. Maybe you did. But what I would have told you at that time, if I had a benefit of actually looking at the ordinance, is one, the ordinance is confusing as written. What your ordinance says is a deadline on a Tuesday at 3 o'clock and a deadline on a Wednesday at 12. It does not reference who's doing what. It's very confusing.
So
The question, I thought we weren't speaking over each other.
I can. I did say.
Oh, okay,
I
well, be
did
my
say
guest.
that as the chair I can, but go ahead.
What I stated yesterday is what's confusing is you have in this ordinance an approval on a Wednesday, but you don't even say who that approval is coming from. What was explained to me yesterday is the intent of this ordinance was to have a submission on Tuesday in Novus and an approval on Wednesday I'm assuming also in Novus. It's very hard for me to understand because what currently happens is on Wednesdays, based on my understanding of the deadline that is currently in place, I get red folders on the Thursday before the Wednesday deadline for the city council clerk. Those folders start coming in, matter of fact, Thursday at 5. We review those folders, we give them return to the department. Or a meeting with the department directors, with Lewis Wright, the CAO, or with the Office of the City Attorney in drafting this ordinance. If you had consulted with us, I think we probably could have come up with what the mayor said yesterday. We probably could have come up with something that made more sense, but that's not the process that was followed.
All right, let me allow her to, you had something you want to say?
Mhm.
And then Councilwoman Lindsay, and then I will clarify once and for all.
Shanikia Jordan, Clerk of Council. I just want to say that on yesterday, we did receive an email. I was given a deadline for 12 o'clock. I stated that I was not able to send those items because I didn't have them ready. It was 12 through 14. However, at all committee meetings, special meetings, we do bring extra copies for the administration, and we try to get those out properly when everyone is present. And I have those copies in my office. Also, the fact of the matter is the deadline that we have right now is not working.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Lindsay.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. You know, I think the point of introducing an ordinance is to allow time for some conversation and vetting, and there very well may need to be some amendments or some changes, but I am comfortable with moving forward with this item today, knowing that over the next couple of weeks, you know, whatever details need to be tweaked or worked on can be addressed, and that we will have this before us at the January meeting. And at that point in time, if in fact we do need more time, then we
Right.
certainly can do that. But obviously, for a lot of reasons, the deadline is not working. I mean, we have our clerks here sometimes into the night on Fridays waiting for the materials. And I think it is just time for us to take a look at this, and an introduction of ordinance is that.
Yes. Look, let me just say again, and I hope we don't get into a much to-do about nothing. It's cool. We are, you know, just for sake of the public watching, the legislative branch. We create the laws. When we call a committee, we have every right to introduce something in committee so that we can talk about it. We publish that committee according to the Open Meeting Act to give time and input for anybody from the administration or anybody that has any concerns to say anything. When we vote an item out of committee, this is what it says. It says that the committee has met and found this sufficient enough to move to the next level, which is what? An introduction. That's all the committee. It does not say it's law. It says that the committee itself has found it sufficient to move to the next level, which is an introduction. Upon introduction, you still have a 2-week window where those concerns can be addressed. This does not mean that we had all this. It just means that the council has spoken through a committee. It is now before the body as an introduction. I can understand if we're about to adopt this today. We are not. It's an introduction. We still have 2 weeks. If there are any concerns, if there are any questions, please get those things to us. I will also say this, that as the legislative body in the creation of laws, we have the prerogative to do so. And if we do so even without legal guidance, which might not be wise, we have the prerogative to do so. With that being said, go ahead, Councilman Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, just a suggestion that might help the council, might help legal and everyone else. Past years, you had a person in the legal department to work with the clerk's office directly who could help draft the ordinances and everything else. Now, I think the clerk office has done a great job drafting our ordinance for the council with no legal background, and a lot of times we understand that legal would tell them, well, they need this and that. What I suggest, if there's not a person in legal, then we find the money to bring somebody on who can work with the clerk to make sure that everything meet legal muster, so we don't keep reinventing the wheel. They're doing a great job. I don't think it's a single lawyer, anybody with legal training, in the clerk's office, but they drafting and doing everything else, and they doing a yeoman's job, excuse me, without something being challenged. Now, once something is challenged, then it's going to be a different set of rules when judges and everybody else look at what we have drafted and what we have. And at that point, they're going to say, don't you have a legal department? And at that point, somebody's going to say, well, no one's working directly with the clerk.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilman Stokes.
Councilman Stokes, I said, well, I acknowledge you when it's time to speak. Councilman Stokes, you are correct, but I don't want to stray away from the main thing, right? The main thing is that this body can introduce an item in committee.
Yeah, no question.
And the purpose of the committee meeting is to see the appetite of committee members for it to be introduced as an agenda. Once it moves there as introduction, there's a 2-week process for input. We're just at the introduction phase, all right? But I do agree, because I do remember the Anitra Eubanks. I do remember the James Andersons. I do remember the timers, and I do remember having a policy analyst, because it's hard for employees in the city attorney's office to work at the speed of counsel, whatever that is determined to be. Do you still wish to have something to say?
All I was going to say, Councilman Stokes, is if asked, we'd be happy to help.
Okay. All right, next item.
So are they saying the clerk's office not asking?
Hold, before we go here, let me say this. There is a common practice. You are right, during budget season, I did ask, can we look at assigning an attorney to the council? I think it has always been practice.
Yeah.
It has just always been practice that there was an attorney assigned to council. And once any city attorney has come in, it's just always been, if we need to make it law, then let's make it law or make it somewhere. But whenever any city attorney, I've been here since 6 have come in. All right, whenever any city attorney has come in, first thing they do is to call and say, this is my person, that whenever council members have things they want to introduce, send it here. We've always known who that has been.
Yeah.
We've always known that. Those that have been, we've always known that. And so, if we have to ask, you want to say something? Because I'm going to allow you to say something, then we're done with this.
Okay. The ordinance was voted out of Rules Committee on December 14th. Last week, I was out all last week due to medical reasons, and no, I did not reach out. However, all I did was change what I normally do. I got the old ordinance, and I changed what we discussed, and I did that for 12 through 14 as well.
It's fine. You don't have to explain.
Okay.
I apologize to you, but you don't have to explain that. All right. Next item. Introduction.
Ordinance amending Section 2-71 of the City of Jackson Code of Ordinances.
If you would, go ahead. You could explain.
Shanikia Jordan, Clerk of Council, Section 2-71. This ordinance changes the public comments for non-agenda items to be able to speak during the regular meetings and no longer at the citizens' agenda meetings at 6 p.m.
All right. This also was discussed in Rules Committee to be brought before us. Colleagues, are we fine with moving forward with this, or do we see the need to put it back in Rules Committee for further discussion?
Are we still on the agenda?
We're on the introduction of item 12.
This is the one for non-agenda items.
Public comment.
Public
Oh,
comments.
okay.
Being able to
Can-
speak.
I wanted to speak on the other matter. I just wanted to let you know, as an administration, we're not going to oppose if you want to bring it up earlier. I
No,
do,
Mayor, we don't. We just wanted to introduce these items after discussing them in rules, so
Okay.
that over a 2-week period, they can be considered or whatever input is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
But all this was handled in Chairman Grizel's, and we're just rolling them out for
Mm-hmm.
discussion and input. That's all.
yeah, no opposition. I just request that as you go forward with the conversation, if the effort is to create a more efficiency, that we talk to every person involved in the process of getting items on the agenda and voting to know what creates delay or what helps. And, you know, just a recommendation, not only for the efficiency of time, but to save trees. You know, one of the ways that we don't have to wait on a printout is if we're all using, you know, a virtual. I know that some of us are still on, you know, not using digital means, but
Mayor, I've tried, and some of my colleagues have told me, well, Councilman Banks, you're just gonna lose me on that. I don't even take
not only trees, but it saves time, right? Because whatever versions or whatever alterations the agenda takes, in a moment, you can have it on your iPad, so.
Yes. All right. We were on the public comments for non-agenda items. All right. So, yes.
Mr. Banks, you had mentioned, you were asking the question whether or
Yes.
not this needs to go back in committee. Were
If
there
there
enough
was the
questions?
desire.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask, were there questions that came up in work session that lead you to believe that we should, I mean, I'm comfortable with it moving forward.
Well, I just wanted to extend that
Oh,
opportunity in
thank you.
case there were some other concerns. Chair, did you want to kind of give a review of all these? Oh, you turned it off.
President, I'm ready to move forward with this agenda. It's been almost 2 hours.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So that's non-agenda items. Next one.
Ordinance amending Section 2-62 of the Jackson Code of Ordinances.
Shanikia Jordan, Section 2-62. This ordinance speaks to the citizens' agenda meeting. We're changing from every last Thursday of each month to quarterly on the last Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. and removing public comments, which will now be held at our regular and special council meetings for all matters non-related and related.
All right. Councilwoman Lee.
My only concern about this is our next citizens' agenda meeting will be in March.
Yes.
And we haven't had one in, I think, 2 months. And I do want to make some special recognitions, and I'm wondering if we could move it up for just this one in January, and then,
Start.
yeah, because the people I want to, make recommendations or recognitions for will most likely fall during spring break, and they most likely won't be able to be here.
All right, Councilwoman.
Well, I mean,
Well, hold on, hold on.
when would the ordinance actually take effect? It wouldn't take effect till the end of, we would vote on it January 3rd or 4th, and then we'd have 30 days, right?
Correct.
So you could,
We could adjust that schedule. All right. Councilman Foot.
Yes, sir, I just would recommend a change in the language from last Thursday of each month to the last Thursday of the quarter, rather than the month, because it's confusing, because you're not sure which month it is. So just if somebody, change it to the last Thursday of the quarter.
Just. Second. Well, hold on, it's an introduction. We can't do none of that now, it's just introducing. Yeah, we just, okay, yeah, just write that down as a recommendation. And I think we can move forward this without putting it back in committee. Any other questions? All right, next one.
Ordinance amending Section 2-64 of the City of Jackson Code of Ordinance for the purpose of reconciling the order of business of the council with Section 2-71B and Section 2-71C of the City of Jackson Code of Ordinances.
Okay, Section 2-64, this ordinance changes the order of business for the agenda to allow public comments for all matters.
Okay.
And I failed to mention on number 13 about the special recognitions, proclamations, resolutions. They will be in that meeting. They will be held in a meeting.
They will be held in
The
regular
citizens'
meeting?
agenda meeting.
Oh, the citizens' agenda
Only.
meeting.
Mhm.
All right, so the proclamations are any proclamations, if, let's say the mayor wants to do a special proclamation
Mhm.
early on, with this, we will still have to do as we do now, suspend the rules for that special proclamation?
Hold on, let me see. Let me look at the order of business, because this is the one that we're changing. Yes.
Okay.
Unless you want to amend this one to add proclamation, special recognitions
Maybe
on the order of business.
maybe we extend an amount, like I know you're not gonna do 20 in one meeting.
To be honest, you don't even have to consider me. I can do mine at a press conference, right? Like, it doesn't matter.
Okay, all right, well, cool, we'll keep it like this, just trying to extend the courtesy.
Yeah, I appreciate it, but I don't want to, I don't think that I have to be a part of the equation of what works for y'all.
Okay, all right, so any other discussions or concerns about that one? All right, that was 14, all right, this is 15.
Ordinance of the City of Jackson, Mississippi, reenacting Jackson, Mississippi Code of Ordinance, Article 2, Sections 86-51 through 86-62.
The control. I know there's poor parents and poor grandparents, but we just cannot allow them to destroy this city. They're out all times of the night. They doing all kind of things, wicked things and everything else. People going to sleep, their car outside, they wake up, the car gone. The reason they know who's doing it because they have cameras. And the camera's showing these young people doing all kind of things. And we got to get these young people back in school. Whether they put out for fighting or this or that, they out here walking the streets and creating all kind of havoc in these neighborhoods. And the older people are scared. They're terrified. We must do what it takes, not only to save these children, but to save these citizens also. Somebody's gonna get killed. And that's when that mother gonna say, they didn't have to kill my baby. That's why we got to do something now. I'm not saying the curfew gonna save all of them, but if we save one, we're batting 1,000. We got to recognize what's taking place in our city. We see it, people calling us, we hearing about it, but we must do something. We can't just sit here and hold our hands, sing kumbaya and hope something will happen to change things. It's up to us to try to implement something to change things. When that young person is hurt, it hurt all of us, because we think about our children. We think about us growing up. By the grace of God, there go I. Thank you.
Thank you, yes, Councilman Hartley.
I just wanted to thank my colleague, Councilman Stokes, for those words and his passion. And it just brought to memory something that happened last week, and where I drove up on the scene where a gentleman was falling out of his car with 2 bullet holes to the leg. And young man, and immediately called JPD, emergency folks, et cetera. It's right across the street from my house. We really need to pay attention to these kids. We're going to lose a whole generation and another generation. We really need to do something. I don't know what all the answers are. I know we need to, pray. But this young man, I'm sure he made it. JPD, AMR responded within 10 minutes, which was good. Good news. I called to the precinct commander, and they responded right away. The but just nonsense. That issue was a car theft, and the person that was supposedly car we need to clean up ourselves, we need to clean up our communities, we need to clean it all up. This isn't working for our young people. And I'm thankful that Councilman Stokes is stepping out and speaking up about this issue. The most tragic thing about that whole incident that I went through last week was it didn't affect me at all. No nervousness, not even thinking about it. A week later, not a big deal on my mind. That's sad. That's the sad state of where we're at. So please continue praying for our city. Please continue working hard for our city, for our youth, for our future. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That is our introduction to ordinances. They will all roll over for adoption
Mr. President,
at the next regular councilman. Yes, sir.
I would like to look at these exceptions.
All right. This is item 15.
Yes.
Go ahead, Councilman Griselle.
Well, where the restrictions are, it seems like the exceptions are a little counterproductive to what the restrictions are. So say, for instance, if my child is at home or is out and the police come to my door, I can say, well, yeah, I sent my child to the store. There's some that there are some loopholes here, basically, and so I don't want to suggest putting this into committee, but I would like to see if we can kind of find some congruency here, if that makes sense, between the restrictions and these exceptions, because the exceptions are kind of what got us in this place to begin with.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Councilman Griselle. And I hear you. I mean, it might be best to put this in public safety. I know, Councilwoman Lindsay, to have some discussion and to allow police or any feedback, because one of the things I am curious to know, and I know we can't hash it out now, is why was this ordinance discontinued? But we can.
I can tell, Mr. President.
Not right now. But will we get it in committee, or if you can send a memo, or if we can find a way so that we can discuss and hash it out?
Okay, suggestion,
Yes, sir.
could we get any concerns sent to legal and has out so we can try to take a vote at the next meeting? The exceptions were put in by the legal department, another legal department, to make sure it passed legal muster. Every one of these exceptions was done by the City of Jackson legal department, not this legal department, because the ordinance had been introduced before. Now, the difference is, this ordinance concerned to other ordinances was that you didn't have to have them approved every year. Yeah, that's what stopped it. They must be approved every year. And that's my understanding. It's a fair requirement, probably case law, probably a court hearing. That's why we made sure we got the exceptions, but we can get with this legal department if councils have a concern about a particular section of the exception where the language can be, I guess, tweaked in such a manner it will still pass legal muster. All this is coming from lawsuits, and it's passing legal muster to make sure everything is done. Thank you.
Yeah, Councilwoman Lindsay.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the point of putting this in committee. It would give us an opportunity to hear from Mr. Stokes in depth, and also perhaps the police chief, but I'm concerned about timing. If we really want to get this done in January, I think it's going to be difficult to pull a committee meeting together over the next week and a half. And so perhaps this can be just done through a memo from Mr. Stokes, and we could, have some possible amendments for the next meeting.
Okay. Mr. Griselle, that's good with you? All right. Is, to the city attorney's office, as we correspond about this, is there anybody specifically that this is going to be assigned to dealing with law enforcement or dealing with this ordinance?
You can send it to me. I still have a memo from James Anderson.
James Anderson. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. So, colleagues, let's make sure that we attach our CC, city attorney on it. All right. Let's go to, colleagues, 18.
Order reappointing Steve Davis to the Historic Preservation Commission of the City of Jackson.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second on this. Colleagues, I'm going to ask if we do away with our routine tradition and having 2 rounds of question, and we just get a statement from the administration and then a statement from the representative whose ward this person may be coming from, if so desired, and call for the vote.
Yeah, I'll just say one statement to be adjoined to each one of the appointments, and that is make sure that we keep the integrity, the history, the importance of so many parts of our city. An example that we often use is Ferris Street. We talk about Ferris Street not only for what it represents in our future, but we talk about it for what it has meant to us in our past. We call our effort to revitalize Ferris Street as the Ferris Street Redux, which means to rebirth, revive, because we personally believe that Ferris Street has a soul. And so there are so many parts of our city that has such historical significance that we need to make sure that we have a body that is always vigilant over these matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. All right. Councilman Foote, did you have anything you want to say?
Which one? Which item? I was waiting for item 16. I'm sorry. No, I don't have any questions. No, sir. I'm fine.
All right. Did you have a question?
I did have a question. I just see item number 18 and then item number 21. Looks like they're both on the Historic Preservation Commission, but both from Ward 1.
19 is on there.
Correct me if I'm wrong, to my colleagues, Councilwoman Liz, Councilman Stokes, Councilman Foote. Didn't we, with historic and one more, because there was a special skill, and one of the reasons why some of these in the previous term to allow for this board, and I think it was one other, for them to come from wherever. Because most of your historic preservation areas are downtown anyway. Thank you, Councilwoman Lindsay. I was wondering when you was going to rescue me.
Thank you. I've had decades of experience with historic preservation and this commission. And we did, Mr. Banks, change the ordinance during the previous administration because this is a highly specialized board and it requires very specific skill set. And we even, I believe, took it, didn't we take it from 7 to 5? You weren't here, Ms. Dotson, but I think we took it from 7 to 5 members. But I want to just say this to my colleagues. It is urgent that we deal with this today. My ward has the bulk of the historic districts in the city. Bellhaven is the largest historic district in the state of Mississippi. Bellhaven Heights is a separate historic district and is also large, but it is not as large as Ferris Street. And I don't even know that there is a historic district in Ward 1. But the truth is, these folks who are on this agenda are both architects who have a tremendous amount of experience in a designated historic district, Mr. Foote, who have a tremendous amount of experience in historic preservation. We have not had a quorum on this commission. It has not been meeting. My phone is ringing off the hook because projects are being held up because you have to have a certificate of appropriate.
All right. Any, Councilman Hartley?
Yes, along that same general line, I'm noticing that one of my folks, and it goes along with what Councilwoman Lindsay just said. This person, Ms. Lawson, extremely qualified. We are fortunate to have her there. Prior experience with the African American Civil Rights Museum, or the Civil Rights Museum, and others. I'm just saying, in general terms, I agree with my colleague here that these folks are professionals, and we want to make sure we expedite this process along.
I didn't want you to give Ms. Lawson's credit under Steve Davis' item. That's all. That's what I was saying. Wait till we get on the floor, but wow, we good. All right. Any other questions or comments on this? Is for reappointing Steve Davis. All right. All in favor? Item carries unanimously. Next item.
Order reappointing Joyce Dixon Lawson to the Historic Preservation Commission of the City of Jackson.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Mayor, you kind of spoken over. All right. So, Councilman Hartley, you want to say something on the record?
Yeah, just that she's eminently qualified, and we're very fortunate to have her and others of that caliber, and I'm all in favor for making sure that we get a quorum on this committee. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Item carries unanimously. Next item.
Order reappointing Jeffrey S. Sebold to the Historic Preservation Commission of the City of Jackson.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded on this item. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none. Oh, is there anybody, any of these that we've called out that are here that wanted to say thank you or say anything? I'm sorry. I apologize. Are any of them here? Or do you?
I don't know for certain on the historic preservation. I know we have some library.
Okay. Okay, all right, yeah, just let me know, because all right, cool. All in favor? All right, item carries unanimously. All right, next item.
Order confirming the mayor's nomination of Sylvia Walker to the Jackson Hines Library Board.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded on this item. Any question or comment? Did you want to speak?
Yes, this, for the sake of time, I had two wonderful discussions with both of our library commission nominees, where they not only understood the importance, significance of our library system, but they understood the challenges before us, and they were both committed to the objective of building a strong library system. We talked about ideas that they had, not only for the renovation and repairs, but bringing in more revenue, things like coffee shops in some of our, or select libraries, to draw in attention and programming within them. So I enjoyed those conversations, and I'm happy for their, I'm grateful for their willingness to serve.
All right, thank you. Ms. Sylvia Walker, are you on?
I think Ms. Walker, she's been in here the entire time.
Oh, she has?
And she just walked out.
Okay, all right. All right, hearing another, all in favor? All right, item carries unanimously. Next item.
Order confirming the mayor's nomination of Dion Nicole Burks to the Jackson High Library Board.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and properly second on this item. Okay. Did you, go ahead, Councilwoman Lee.
Oh, I just want to first thank the mayor and his administration for bringing her forward for a nomination. We presented her to you in October, and it's only been about a 2-month turnaround, so I thank you so much for bringing her forward. I'd like to give her a few minutes to introduce herself and tell some things about what she plans, and then I do have some things I want to talk to you about, Dion.
Yes.
My name is Dion Nicole Burks, and I am in Ward 2, and I am thrilled to be nominated to serve on the board for the library. I love the library. I have used the library ever since I was a little girl. My mom would tell you that I would go after school to the library. Before Google, there was the library, and I would call the librarian to ask questions, and it was a place for me of comfort and where I was able to grow into the woman that I am and to learn about history and to learn about things that you did not have personal experience. I have a lot of ideas about ways to make the library an exciting place that people want to come and spend time with, especially when we had the lockdown with COVID. People got out of the habit of going to places to be together, getting out of the habit of having conversations, being out of the habit of just exploring different things, especially with social media. We kind of all are in our echo chambers, and so it would be really exciting for me to come up with ideas to have programming that would bring in a lot of liveliness and also just bring in a willingness to come and explore the library again. I have a background in public relations marketing, and I feel like there's a lot that can be done in just expressing a messaging, expressing just what the needs of the community are, and making sure that everybody actually knows that the libraries are here and they are open. I was fortunate to go with my father, who is also on the board. He's serving in Ward 4, so we're going to be the first father-daughter duo. Wow. Our family loves the library, obviously. So I was able to go to many open houses, gone to many open houses, and they were great. They had so many people that were there, so excited to be at the library and so excited to actually have a space to go. And I think that that is one of the things that we need, especially in Jackson, is safe places for people to go. And so I just wanted to, again, thank you for the opportunity and just let you know that I'm here to serve, and I'm going to be advocating for everyone for the library.
Stay there.
There is, I know that this is a time for the council to ask questions, but there is one thing I failed to ask. If appointed, being the first father-daughter duo, what happens when there's a disagreement between the two of you? What?
He and I are pretty much always in alignment. We think very similarly, but we also have different strengths, and so those strengths together are going to make it a great team.
Quick on your feet, I see. Good answer.
Well, as you can see, colleagues, she exemplifies everything great about my nomination. I do want to talk to you, Mrs. Burks, about looking at some of the JPS properties that are not being used, such as that Watkins Elementary building. I think that would be a great location for a library. It's on the corner of Northside and Watkins, and it would serve my ward, our ward, also Ward 3 and 4. So at some point, I would like to reengage some conversations with JPS.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, I don't have all the information. I haven't actually been appointed yet, but I would love to look into that because there's actually not a library in Ward 2.
Yes.
So we actually need support there.
And there's a playground that's fully functioning, and that would be a great, resource and extracurricular activity for our kids. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Mr. President, thank you. Your excitement is great to see, to be able to serve on the board and excited to be on the board. 70% of Hinds County is the city of Jackson. 100% of the city of Jackson is the city. We're paying the vast majority of taxes for the libraries. but yet in the city, we receiving very little. Most of the libraries are either closed, not working properly, and those kind of things. But all the libraries in the county are open and working properly off our money. You see the point I'm trying to make? Somewhere, somebody got to start having this discussion about if 70% of the payment for Hinds County is coming from the city, maybe it's time for the county to take over the whole library system and kick some money in versus the city of Jackson paying just about everything.
Yeah, I think that these are great questions and concerns, but again, I have not actually been within the system yet. I don't have any other information. I'm sure that there's conversations that have been happening outside closed doors, but I would be happy to have a conversation with you and have these discussions and bring these concerns back to the board and create a solution, because I feel like everybody is kind of on the same page that we want it to be better and we want it to be something that is beneficial for the city and everyone.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Dr. Council, for being here as well. All right, any other questions or comments? All in favor? All right, item carries unanimously. I think that was that the last appointment?
Yeah.
All right, let's go to 16, claims.
Order approving claims appearing at pages 1 to 4, 2 inclusive thereon on municipal docket of claims in the amount of $2,131,631.83 for and to make an appropriation for the payment thereof.
Information about how many employees receive under $15 an hour. Thank you so much for this information. I study it, and I get back with you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, Mr. Mellenbecker.
Good afternoon, Fidelis Malembeka, Chief Financial Officer. I present to you the 4 largest claims on this docket. They are as follows. The first is Exxon Enterprise Incorporated in the amount of, in the amount of $268,203.29 paid out of Fund 2, seizure and forfeited property. This is for tasers for JPD. The second is Huntington Technologies in the amount of $200,000 Regions Bank in the amount of $166,775.60 paid out of Fund 1, General Fund for Thalamara Hall equipment. And the fourth is Waste Management of Mississippi in the amount of $136,031.10 paid out of Fund 9, Landfill Sanitation for disposal contract, October 2023.
All right, are there any questions or comments?
Yes, question.
Yes, sir.
Doctor, in terms of Public Works, do we have any idea how much money we have? I know we have different accounts. But can you tell us dollar amount, how much we have in Public Works, not that line item, but Public Works as a whole?
Yes, correct. So, and the different component to the Public Works, you have on the general side, Public Works budget, which, and I've got to look at that specifically, around $15 million. Then you do have the enterprise, excluding water sewer, since we no longer have that. You have the sanitation fund. That is roughly about it's a $16 million budget, but depending upon collected revenues. Then we do have other funds that support Public Works, outside funds, such as 213, and this is where you have repaving funds for repaving. During the budget deliberation session, we talked about having the $1 million that was available for resurfacing. Then you also have, 420, Fund 420. This is where most of your MDOT projects come under. And the amounts would vary because it's based on what comes through the appropriations there.
Could you give us a memo?
I will outline,
to that
yes.
And kind of tell us a plan of attack or action to attack these potholes. Some of these potholes been here for years. Now, some they calling utility cuts that still out here have not been. How do we get these things fixed on some of these streets? And maybe you need to talk to Public Works Director, how many do we have? So they should have some kind of count.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. President.
We'll outline that for you.
Thank you.
To that note, just two things. One, Councilman Stokes, don't forget about the $100,000 we set aside for each ward, specifically for potholes.
Yeah.
And I think you just communicate with the Public Works Director. I guess my second question would be, we can get that later. Are we going to confirm or put up a Public Works Director? Go ahead, Councilman Hartley.
Yeah, just a quick note. When you mentioned Mr. Hennepin had addressed in one of my meetings about the utility cuts, the older utility cuts. He said that his response to that question was that the current cuts that happened after they took over will be addressed as the priority. The older utility cuts will be addressed on the back end. So what that means essentially is that they are going to be even a longer period of time unless the city steps in and want to do something, but it will be a long period of time. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments?
What we probably need is a commission for historic potholes.
Okay,
Merry Christmas.
all right, all in favor
Of what?
of claims?
Merry Christmas.
I call for the go. All in favor? All in favor? Okay. No, even if it is a extension because it's 6 here, it needs 4 to pass. All opposed? All right. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Payroll?
Order approving gross payroll, including payroll deduction claims number 29666 to appropriation for the payment thereof.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and properly second on this item. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Item carries 6-0. Next item.
Order authorizing the mayor to execute a renewal agreement and the required documents with Delta Dental concerning the provisions of a fully funded dental insurance plan for municipal employees and retirees for the period January 1, 2024 through December 31, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Mr. President.
I'm sorry.
She was here 1 minute. Is she still or she gone?
I think,
Director?
oh, you talking about the director for HR, Director Martin? I think she's gone. Or is she up? Rod is there. Rod,
Yes, me and Tori are here.
okay. Okay, Councilman Stokes.
Thank you. When is the deadline for making sure that we sign our employees up to be covered for insurance under the City of Jackson plan?
Well, the deadline has ended, but you do still have an opportunity to make changes if you have those changes to be made during cafeteria enrollment. So if you have some changes, definitely reach out to my office and we'll gladly assist you with those changes.
Well, I know they've been trying to reach someone. What number we'll get my office to call because we've been trying to reach someone. We didn't want to miss that deadline.
Sure, yeah, the office number is area code 601-960-1051.
Ms. Carr, could you write that down, please? All right, now, I see, Mr. Wright shaking his head. Now, when did the time expire?
Open enrollment ended December 15th. But you have until the end of the year to make changes to your benefits that you have currently with the city of Jackson.
I don't have any with the city, so I miss open enrollment.
So, yeah, do me a favor. If you want to correspond with my colleague, Mr. Stokes, send him a memo the old-fashioned way with the folder. Or call him. All right, you're not going to get him via email.
Councilman Stokes, I'll reach out to you. I'll reach out to you this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
This is
Thank you,
Toya.
Mr. President.
All right,
Thank
You're welcome, no problem.
All right, any other questions or comments on this? All right, all in favor? All right, item carries unanimously. Next item.
Orders, legal notices for 12 months for the city of Jackson.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved properly second on this item. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Opposed? All right, item carries.
Second.
It's been moved properly second on this item. Any questions or comments?
Yes, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Doc, do we have we fixed the problem in terms of, I know this is where she live off Capitol Street. Have we fixed those problems yet?
Probably.
Chloe Dodson, Director of Planning. What was your question? Sorry.
Have we fixed those problems where her home was off Capitol Street?
Have we started the renovations?
Well, the whole area is been a problem area.
This is in reference to one house, Miss Lena Taylor's house.
Tyler's
house.
Yeah.
So we've passed the agenda item to do renovations. This is a agenda item to house her while we
Yeah.
do those renovations.
Yeah, and I agree with everything you're saying, but the other house is a problem also. Have we looked at, it's gonna take you to have some magic to kind of fix that situation over there. Then above there by Bard School, they put in, I guess, the floor plan to build homes, and nothing has been done in 20 years.
Councilman, I know what you're talking about. I do have a plan. I'm working on trying to finish out that project, but that is in the distance, but it is on our radar.
No problem, thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, any other questions or comments? Councilman, you had a motion to give us some magic? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? All right, item carries unanimously. Next item.
Order accepting the bid of Peaches Environmental Services, Inc., and authorizing the mayor to execute a contract and related documents with Peaches Environmental Services, Inc. to provide disposal of non-hazardous liquid waste material at JEDTRAN Administrative and Maintenance Facility.
So move.
Let's move properly second. Any questions or comments? Councilman Harley?
Yes, and I think I may have asked this question yesterday. It was concerning, we no longer accept waste oil at the Environmental Service Center, and I was wondering, is this another avenue? How do they get rid of their oil? Could we combine the two? At one time, it was profitable when folks dropped off oil at the ESC, and we sold it. Money came back into the city. I was wondering, is there any opportunity here to do some oil recycling? I noticed this is a non-hazardous waste material. Oil would probably be classified as hazardous waste, so.
Chloe Dodson, Director of Planning. So what they used to do, or what the administration did with oil, was under solid waste, so I'm not really sure how that process works. But this does contain some oil think they're called SIP tanks. And Ms. Christine Welch is on the line if you want more detail. But this is to remove all the sludge and stuff every year. We got to get all that stuff out of there, preventing it from getting into our systems.
Well, again, this was just a notice because I tried to drop off some waste, or perhaps the administration could look into maybe, it was a nice benefit to have waste oil from your home or any automotive work, to have a place to take it, to have it safely disposed of instead of pouring it down the drain, which contaminates the watershed and the river. So if there's any way to marry the two, or to see if they can accept, I don't know if there's a charge for it, but if we could, piggyback on the recycling. And
Yeah.
I'll let you guys.
Yeah, that
get
sounds
to
like a
that.
fats, oil, and grease under.
Signs. Tell Ms. Welch they look good. I know in the future we will make them look wider, but for people who ride the bus, it's helpful. So, you see them in other cities, so,
Yeah.
I don't know how much we paid, but it was money well spent.
Ms. Welch is on the line. I'm sure she hears you.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. This is the item 26. All in favor? All right, item carries unanimously. Item 27.
Order amending the fiscal year 2024 budget of the City of Jackson Department of Public Works.
Make sure she's not gone.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second on this item. Any questions or comments? Mr. Right here, just coordinate with you. I do know his desired place to do it was on the corner of Robinson and Ellis, to do the little program when they got ready to put the sign up, okay? So I'll just make sure we put him in contact with you. All right.
Did he have a date? Did he have a month?
Huh?
Was it
He wanted to do it in January, February. This is for Public Works.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have a Public Works Director, so, I ain't see you back there, but you're not the Public Works Director. Your name is down here. It say Wright Lumumba. So.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. All right, next item. Well, I think we voted, right?
Not on.
All in favor?
That's on 27.
It's on the Bobby Rush sign and James Meredith sign.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
All
yeah.
All in favor? All right, so all right, that's 7-0. Next item.
Order authorizing the mayor to execute an addendum to the preliminary engineering services contract with Stantec Consulting Services, Inc. for the Woodrow Wilson Avenue Signal Project, Federal Aid Project Number STP-0250-00-052 LPA 108072.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second on this item. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Item carries unanimously. Next item.
Order authorizing the mayor to execute agreements with Jones Walker LLP, the Cochran Firm Jackson, and Hawkins Law P LLC to represent the city in the civil action number 21-CV-663, 21-CV-667, 22-CV-171, and 22-CV-531 matters.
Included in these matters.
Tori Martin, Office of the City Attorney. We talked about this briefly yesterday. I think Councilman Hartley asked this question yesterday about the actions that are involved, but it's the lead water lawsuits. So they started in 2021. There are thousands of claimants, but they broke the lawsuits up into different lawsuits. The only other lawsuit that's included is earlier this year, we did an amendment to their contract to include the class action lawsuit. So it is all of, everything that's associated with the lead, alleging that there was lead in our water back in 2016, it's all of those lawsuits are being covered under this same contract. And it's those three different firms. It's the Jones Walker is the main firm, and then we also have Hawkins Law Firm, and then Terrace Harris with the Cochran firm. And it's just renewing the contract. The original contract was for 2 years. This is renewing it for another 2 years because the litigation is still ongoing. I think the only other thing that was mentioned yesterday was that somebody actually might have been Councilwoman Lindsay that asked for an update. And so we have won on a motion to dismiss with Judge Reeves to dismiss the individual defendants. So for the city of Jackson, it's just the city of Jackson, but because they filed so many different lawsuits, we have to dismiss those individual defendants from all the different lawsuits. But we've won on at least one of them where we've been able to dismiss the individual defendants. So Tony Arbor, the mayor, Jerriet Smash, Keisha Powell, and Chokwe Lumumba, Chokwe and Tar Lumumba have all been dismissed.
Why are we paying Jones Walker so much more than the others?
Because Jones Walker, if you look at the contract, Jones Walker is actually the main one representing the city of Jackson, but also Jones Walker has so they're using their software and their technology and also their staff to review all the documents. So if you remember, part of this is, it's a lot of different phases to it, but we got a lot of documents from the EPA from when we were in discussions with the EPA years ago about our drinking water. So they have, I don't even know the number of documents. Clarence Webster is here with us if y'all have questions specifically for him. But it's hundreds of thousands of documents that they already have that they're still pulling together for the discovery phase. So that's the main reason why they are being paid the most is because they're doing the bulk of the work. The majority of the work for Hawkins Law and Hawkins Law has taken up the majority of the work when it came to arguing on their motion to dismiss. And also being in contact with those other clients. So like Hawkins Law has been in contact with Chokwe and Tar Lumumba more. And Terrace Harris has taken up really being more so in contact with Tony Arbor and Keisha Powell. So they split up the work based on the defendants as well.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilman Hartley?
Yes, Madam Attorney, if, say for instance, someone is try to bring up a lawsuit in the future. I mean, smelling, seeing blood in the water here. What happens to the future? And what happens after this?
So for what it's worth, this same law firm, it's the plaintiff's firm on this case, it's the same plaintiff's firm that filed in Flint, Michigan. And what they do is they just bring in hundreds of claimants at a time. So the reason why you see so many different cause numbers is because they'll file them in batches. So we'll get, and the municipal clerk can tell you this, we get big batches of notices of claims that are, and they like had an event at the Children's Museum where they just signed up a bunch of people. So the judge has not yet set a definitive, this is the end, you can't add anybody else to this case. What I was saying yesterday is we are working with the magistrate judge now to consolidate the cases so that they will at least be following the same path in terms of like litigation. But the future is, I think that same firm, whoever they decides to sign up, they'll keep filing them in batches. So we've gotten, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 different huge batches of claims that have come in but we don't have any we have very, very limited information on the people that they're signing up to file suit.
Okay,
So we just get a notice of claim form.
And with this is a monetary burden on the city, correct?
Right now, the monetary burden has been the cost of defending it, but yes, it's huge, but it's a lot of work to defend this because we got the class action lawsuit, but we also have, our other lawsuit just has, literally hundreds of plaintiffs. And so it's a lot of work, but yeah, it's a huge burden, but we have been in settlement negotiations with them. They've sent us a demand letter, we responded back to them. In terms, and like I said yesterday, we've made it very clear to them that the city of Jackson does not have insurance. This is definitely a case where, believe that the recovery will be based off of tort claims. And so you're looking at a max of maybe 500,000, that's if you prove guilt. And so far, we haven't found anything in the documentation that we have that proves guilt. That's one of the ways we were able to get the individual defendants dismissed. They were alleging that those individual defendants had taken some action that caused the water to be contaminated. Wants us to go through the discovery phase to make sure that there's no other document or no other information out there that would show that we did take some action, I guess, is the way I would say that.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? All right. What was that vote count?
421.
Okay, all right. Item carries. Next item.
Order authorizing the payment of attorney fees on behalf of Jackson Police Officer Albert Taylor in the matter of the estate of Crystalline Barnes, deceased versus the city of Jackson, Albert Taylor in his individual and official capacity, Rakasha Adams in her individual capacity, and United States Federal Court, Federal District Court, Southern District of Mississippi, Civil Action Number 318-CV-644-CWR-LGI.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second on this item. Are there any questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Griselle?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought we had this matter come up before.
You had, so this is not the lawsuit itself. This is the attorney's fees for, and it says it in here, this is the attorney's fees for the officer, and that attorney is Springer. And so this is his attorney's fees for him representing that JPD officer. The reason why Francis Springer was representing the JPD officer is because we determined there was a potential for a conflict of interest. But this is not one where we had a settlement on. This is one where we actually ended up winning the case in federal court. But they were everybody was being represented by different parties. The city was represented by the office of the city attorney, but there was a potential for a conflict of interest. And so this person was represented, this JPD officer was represented by Francis Springer. So this is just his attorney's fees.
Okay, well, thank you. Mr. President, because I do have a conflict, I was a civil service commissioner when this
With Mr. Griselle?
No, not with Mr. Griselle, with the attorney. You keep mentioning.
So essentially what happens with a conflict of interest with a JPD officer, whenever we look at these cases where there's a lawsuit filed, for what it's worth, even when it's a lawsuit filed against y'all, what we look at is what the potential is for the facts that are going to come out in the case and may make us say that the city's position is different and may potentially adverse from the position of that other party. And so, for example, with JPD, and I don't remember 100% the facts of this case, to be honest with you, but what typically happens with JPD is we're looking at whether or not that officer was acting in the course and scope when he took those actions. So for example, if you have an officer who intentionally beats somebody in the public, for us, that's an automatic conflict of interest. That means you are acting outside the course and scope of your employment because as JPD officers, that's not part of your job to go out there and attack somebody, a member of the public. And so when we looked at this case, and for what it's worth, I wasn't here at the time, this started in 2018, but they would have looked at the case and they would have evaluated and made a determination on whether or not they thought there was a potential for a conflict of interest. If there is a potential for a conflict of interest, then we then tell that other party, whoever it is, we think it's important for you to get separate counsel in this matter.
Does that counsel speak with you, with the city's legal department, or?
Typically, the only time we talk to them is at the very beginning. So if we have any documents, we will share those documents with them. But we essentially take separate roles in terms of, now we might talk a little bit about the defense. So like on this one, I think that once we got ready to prepare for trial, there were some conversations between us about what our strategy was going to be at trial versus what their strategy was going to be at trial. But we keep the two relatively separate. The last conversation we had with them is attorney's fees.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments?
CV-326-KHJ-MTP.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved properly second on this item. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Your opposition, you oppose or abstain?
Abstain.
Abstain. So that's 5-1-1. All right, next item.
Order authorizing payment of full and final settlement of all claims in Timothy Jackson versus the City of Jackson, cause number 22-CV-00022 in the Circuit Court of Hinds County, Mississippi, First Judicial.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved properly second on this item. Any question or comment?
What are the facts?
Tori Martin, Office of the City Attorney. JPD officer, car accident. I actually emailed you all the memo, and I think I have a printout of the memo. Give me just a second. I'll pass it to you, Councilman Stokes. I'm not going to misdirect it to you, but I did email it to the council last night. We talked about it briefly. We talked about this one briefly during the work session yesterday, but it's a car accident. JPD officer Timothy Jackson is a member of the public. That's the person who was struck by the vehicle. And if you have any other questions, we would take it into executive session, but I did want to just give you the benefit of the memo.
Thank you.
All right.
State of emergency.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved properly second on this item. Any questions or concerns? All right, all in favor? Item passes unanimously. Next item.
Order reviewing and continued state of emergency.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved properly second on this item. Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Item carries unanimously. Next item.
Resolution adopting the 2024 regular council meeting schedule of the Jackson City Council.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved properly second. Shanique, you want to just go over those holidays or those changes? Because one of them is going to affect us, in 2 weeks? January? Yeah. Go over the New Year's.
Okay. Shanikia Jordan, during Rules Committee meeting, we discussed the 2024 council schedule. January 3rd is the date for the next council meeting for the new year.
All right.
Is that a Wednesday?
It,
I can't
I
remember.
think it is, hold on, this one, I'm pulling my calendar up. I think it is a Wednesday, because yes, it is a Wednesday.
And I think what we said, because the first is actually that Monday, then Tuesday, did we say we were going to do this without a work session? Is that what we discussed?
Yes.
All right, so there won't be a work session. We'll just do the regular council meeting on the 3rd. And I think that's the only holiday that's on there. Any questions or comments on that? All right, all in favor? All right, item carries unanimously. Next item.
Order amending order appointing Jamia Carr, Deputy Clerk of Council, on a part-time basis.
Is so moved. Second. Is this an order amending or appointing or both?
It's an order amending
The appointment
the
of,
appointment of her part-time position. She's moving to full-time.
oh, she's moved to full-time.
Yes.
Okay. Well, congratulations. All right. Any questions or comments?
Which office is this?
John
Ward 3, Councilman Stokes.
Mr. Stokes said John's gone.
John gone.
All right, congratulations. All right, any other questions or comments? All in favor? You actually said, go on. All right, congratulations. All right. The next item, we'll take up an executive session. Let's go to discussion item 39. Councilman Foot?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. This is discussion item, the garbage RFP and the status of Richards disposal legal actions against the city of Jackson. Can someone give us a situation, what the status is of those legal actions against the city by Richards?
Tori Martin, Office of the City Attorney. So we have two separate actions. The first action is an appeal of the City Council's decision to not approve of the solid waste contract. The second action is a more recent action that they filed. That is an appeal of the city's action to, it's the city's action in issuing the RFP. On the most recent action, the court actually contacted us to consolidate the two matters. We rejected that request, and we actually filed a motion to dismiss. We have not heard back from the judge that case was assigned to.
Tap it and then try to talk. Like the church. Go ahead.
So once we know something from that judge, I will let you know. On the older case, the original appeal that was filed, we actually had a hearing this morning at 10 o'clock. The hearing today was on motions that had been filed by the city, but also motions that had been filed by Richards Disposal. The question was what the record would be and what the briefing schedule would be. I do not know the outcome of that hearing, but I do know on the record issue, we were close to an agreement on what the record would be. But we have to finalize what the record will be with the judge first. And then once the judge has the record and sets the briefing schedule, then the judge will go from there.
So the record, so there's an agreement, close to an agreement on what the record will be?
Correct. So
what
whenever.
What is the when you say what?
So when you have an appeal, so what we talked about, I think at the last meeting, for what it's worth, was about whether or not this was like a traditional lawsuit. This is an appeal. This is an appeal. When you have an appeal of any administrative decision, what it requires is that you deliver a record to, so the municipal clerk is charged with delivering a record to the court. So even on like our rental registration case, we were charged with delivering that record to the court. And so the question became, on this case, of what the record was. There was some argument that the record should be limited to just the minutes, just the council meetings, and it's in the council meetings and the agendas. And then there was an argument from Richards that the record should also include all public statements made by council members and the administration, and anything that could be found within the press or blogs, and so that was the argument today, was whether or not the record would be broad or whether the record would be narrow.
What is the court and who's the judge?
So it's Judge Adrian Wooten. It's been the same judge that's assigned to the first case since the very beginning. On the second case, it was initially assigned to Faye Peterson, but I don't know if Judge Peterson will retain.
Very concerning is the fact that there's a provision in the RFP that if the court rules, because these appeals out there, if the court rules, then you would lose, the contract would go to Richards and you'd miss out on this stuff. So I think that is a real problem as far as, I think it's going to end up making the garbage, it may eliminate some people who want to bid on the business. It may increase the prices they bid because of that uncertainty. So I think that's a provision that makes the thing more expensive. I also think there's other provisions that make the garbage RFP more unnecessary and more expensive. The provision for carts, the provision that requires vehicles or the trash trucks that have to be 2 years old or younger. That would eliminate a lot of the local minority contractors that would like to participate in picking up the City of Jackson's garbage. So I'm disappointed that we didn't ask for dismissal sooner. You said you just.
This is two different cases. You're
No,
mistaken.
but I'm saying, when was the request for dismissal on the first
There was
case?
no, so the only reason why we were able to file a motion to dismiss on the second one is because of standing.
What about the first one?
So there was standing in the first one. So the standing that you get by virtue of an administrative decision being made, the argument we make in the second lawsuit is that there is no standing because technically an administrative decision has not been made. The issuance of the RFP itself is not sufficient for them to appeal. That's the argument that we make.
Okay.
But once a decision is made, then there is no argument for us to dismiss it because the law literally gives you the right to appeal. So all we're saying in the second lawsuit is that right is not ripe because we haven't made a decision. We've only issued an RFP. And so that's the argument that we made for dismissal. But that's two different cases.
All right. Yes, Councilman Stokes?
Thank you. Could we get a copy of the RFP, requesting that again, and whether or not the RFP has a provision about trash pickup? A citizen called, and she said that they tried to get the company Richards to pick up some trash, and they told them they did not have to.
So the only calls we've gotten about trash has been the bins, and it's because Waste Management mistakenly distributed bins to City of Jackson customers, and they asked for those customers to return those bins. When they didn't return those bins, some people were trying to utilize those bins for trash pickup, and Richards was advised by Waste Management to not touch essentially their property, which was the Waste Management bins. But I do believe that issue has been resolved. Waste Management has picked up the bins that belong to them, and we had some customers that were using bins, and for what it's worth, I learned something new in this process. But apparently, some people dispose of trash. Some people have bins for like a Waste Pro or like a different company because the type of waste that they're disposing of in their household is considered hazardous waste. And so there is a question of whether or not a garbage company should be picking up somebody else's bin because you don't know what's inside of it. But that issue, to my knowledge, has been resolved. But I would defer to our solid waste division for whether or not they have a comment on that. But to my knowledge, that issue has been resolved, but I am aware of that issue. And there is a provision it's the same to my knowledge. I don't know, I would defer to solid waste again, but I think the provision for the collection of solid waste is the exact same that it's been in the last 3 RFPs. I don't think that provision itself was modified.
Well, mine is not concerning bins. This is trash, and whether or not we're going to have a provision in the RFP for trash to be picked up. The citizen who called me lives in South Jackson, and she said she was in Councilwoman Lindsay ward, and I told she was ill. And, you know, I don't know how people can expect you to be sick and do any and everything else they want you to do, and you're trying to survive an illness. But the key thing is, we see a lot of trash in this city. Whether it's an RFP or not, that should be part of the RFP to have trash picked up.
All right, Attorney Williams, you know, like in some of the older neighborhoods where it may say, where somebody might be hospice or bedridden and they don't have kids, and there was certain addresses that were given to where the collections company would actually walk to the door to the side of the house and pick it up, because that person, it was a house that was on Plum Street, and the lady was bedridden. Her folks only were able to come once a week, and there was some type of provision because of that person's condition that they would pick up, and there was only a certain list of addresses. I think that's what you're talking about.
Well, could we get a copy of the RFP?
That's what he's talking about.
I mean, this issue came up with a carts before, and we
He's not
inserted
talking
it.
about this.
I know,
I don't
but
know
what I'm
nothing
saying
about
is
cars.
there is a provision that says that they're to provide pickup for anybody, that has an ADA issue, that has a disability, that can't, that they're.
They can't get it to the drive,
Yes.
to the, yeah.
Right.
That's
That's
what
in
he's-
there.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was a modification to the last RFP
Yeah.
so you're saying that remains in
Yes.
place?
Going ahead and we're asking for proposals with bins or with or without bins, is it an option that some contractors out there said, okay, here's my price with bins, here's my price without bins? Because the majority of the folks that I'm speaking with in my town hall meetings are saying they don't even want bins.
Okay.
And so I'm asking, for the sake of price, now we just found out that, hey, our water is going to be increasing. For the sake of price, did you offer the contractors with or without bins to offer up a price?
So this is the answer I will give you. So developing an RFP is an executive function. I believe that there was an agreement between what is in that RFP is solely up to the administration and the solid waste division.
Okay,
I
so-
don't have any control over that. There
Okay,
was an
so it's
option
the-
for you to have input in that,
All
and
right,
you
all
chose
right.
not to go with that option.
Councilman Harden,
Yeah.
we're gonna take a similar item up where we can discuss this in council executive session on item 38. So we
Okay.
could just wait till we
Yeah,
get there.
just one comment, and so, just one for clarification.
Go ahead.
So you're saying that administration is pushing the carts?
No, what I'm saying is
Well,
solid
no,
waste
look,
division develops its own RFP.
Okay, and I
There is
understand.
no role
I'm
for
asking you a question about the RFP. Is it with or without carts?
the RFP is with carts.
So, and that's based on the administration wanting
That is
carts
based
for
on
everybody?
solid
Thank you.
waste division. Participate in that
That
process.
wasn't my question.
And, well, you're asking me a question. I can't do anything to change what's in that RFP.
I just wanted you to
I, as
add-
Office of the City Attorney,
All
have
right.
no control
So-
over what gets put in
so-
an RFP.
Yeah, look, okay. We're not gonna rehash it, we'll deal with it.
Good luck.
Mr. Stokes, you have, Ms. Shirley and water bills.
Thank
Want
you.
to hold those?
Oh, no, Miss Shirley's here.
Ms. Shirley, I thought she got up and walked out.
Well, she went to the restroom.
Well, thank you for her keeping on. All right, come on, Ms. Shirley. You want to open this up, Mr. Stokes?
Miss Shirley called concerning an issue with her automobile, and I asked her to come to speak to the council.
The potholes?
Yes. Miss Shirley?
Okay. My beautiful beloved, this is a letter from me to my city.
Oh.
Then I get to potholes. My beautiful beloved Jackson, where have you gone? My name is Shirley Hamilton. I was raised right here in Jackson. I love my city, but sometimes I wonder if my city loves us. I remember you as a clean, vibrant, safe place where everyone wanted to be. A place where you could work, shop, buy a home, raise a family, and with a good school system, without being afraid of going somewhere. I remember when you had movie theaters, skating rinks, malls, going to the IHOP after prom, without being scared. I remember your smooth streets, when there were no potholes, sinkholes, or ditches in the streets. Jackson, where are you? When you took pride in your city, please come back. I know we can do better. I never thought this would happen to me because I always try to be a careful driver. On November the 22nd, 2003, I hit a pothole, sewer concrete hump in the street on McAdoo Street. The damage of my car is $3,200, which is still in the shop. It's been there for, I guess it's 4 weeks because it was November 22nd. I have submitted the proper paperwork to risk management. As of today, my car is still there. I'm borrowing my sister and my mom's car for transportation. I'm asking for a full reimbursement for my car repairs. Thank you for your time.
Have you received a letter or any correspondence from Risk Management?
No.
You have not? But you did get with Risk Management?
I gave them the paperwork. I filled out the paperwork, and I gave them my receipts and everything, and I did let them know where my
Can you
car
get with
is.
someone in the city attorney's office? And I appreciate the heartfelt letter, I really do. But there might be some backed up or whatever, but if you could just get with the city attorney's office, Risk Management comes directly up under her. All right, thank
I
you so much.
contacted Councilman Stokes and Brian Gizzard. He's in my district, but he left.
Councilman Griselle? Okay, yeah, you just want to make sure that we have some type of tracking mechanism in Risk Management. Yes, ma'am.
My route that I have to go every day to check on my mom and my dad is Woodrow Wilson. And there's various potholes doing that route. I've contacted, now, what is the pothole number? To let them know what these potholes are. And I'm sure everyone at some point in time has to travel 5 points on Woodrow Wilson, because that's the main area. But the streets are terrible to be a main intersection. There's potholes. You have to wave around, you have accidents. To be in the heart of our city. I love Jackson. I was contemplating moving at one time, but I talked to the mayor, no, don't move. And I'm still here 5, 6 years later, the same thing. And I love this city, but the young folks they're not moving here. They're not raising their families here. They're going right outside of Jackson. They'll work here, but they're taking their money outside. And that's a shame.
Duly noted, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
And just want to let you know that we hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Colleagues, Councilman Stokes, you're going to hold 42?
Yeah, I just want to say this, Mr. President. I have a copy of a water bill, and I pass it around, and it shows, now this person's 92, that the sanitation fee is $37, her sewer is 16, and her water is 7. The 16 and 7 for water and sewer is only 23, a little over 24.
Okay.
And the sanitation more, but I understand. I hold it for the note, I just passed this around, and she's 92 years old.
All right.
And that's why I'm saying we need to take sanitation off of the water bill for the older people to pay.
Okay. Would the council members just acknowledge by a simple aye that you received item 44, monthly financial report as required according to section 2135-13 of the Mississippi Code of Annotated of 1972? Aye.
Yes.
All right, it's all been received. At this point, I'll take a motion to go into executive session.
So move.
43. We took the items up and voted on it. It's fine for discussion, as far as discussion. To go into discussion for item 30, to go into executive session, take up item 38. There's a motion. Who was the motion?
moved.
Who was the second? Oh, okay, all right. All right, yes, closed session for the purpose of going to council on executive session for item 38. All in favor? All right. We are now in closed session. Out of executive session, the council did take up item 38 in executive session. It did get on the floor, and we had discussion on the item only. No action was taken. That item will be tabled to a special called council meeting. Are there any, yes, sir, Councilman Stokes?
As on Saturday. Also, Mr. Christopher Little, the band director at Jim Hill High School, and Mrs. Cleveland, former owner of Cottage Grove Nursing Home, and close to meeting on also Mrs. Hattie McCarthy. I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, and Happy New Year. Thank you, sir.
All right, I opened, but I'm going to yield because the Turner family stayed in Councilman Hartley's ward.
Yes, I'd like to close in remembrance of Mr. Larry Donnell Turner, who was a member of Ward 5, and just prayers and condolences goes out to his family. And again, we certainly appreciate all his contributions to our ward as well as the community as well as the city. I also like to, different note, like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas from Ward 5 to the rest of the city. We wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and hope everyone stays safe.
All right, Councilman Foote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to close the meeting in honor of Miss Joy Wilson, a widow of Howard Wilson, who passed away on December the 8th. A delightful lady who brought joy to everybody who was around her.
All right, thank you. And I want to, again, just join Councilman Hartley. Mr. Turner, of course, was the father to Jared Turner, who still stays in Ward 5 and is a longtime political contributor, but then also the brother to Judge Tommy Green. And so we just want to remember and pray for the family. With that being said, Merry Christmas and a prosperous, Happy New Year to all. If you all will stay tuned after I adjourn, Councilman Stokes will sing a song. All right. This meeting is adjourned.